Hello, friends, and happy Friday. I'm not sure about the rest of you, but this has been quite the week. So it's nice to just come and hang out and talk about books and forget about other stuff for a few minutes. So we're waiting a couple more, but Alex, if you want to kick us off and introduce yourself.
Yeah, definitely. Hi, everyone. I'm Alex. I run the channel Tall Guy Reads. I've been doing it for about 2 months now, and it's been a lot of fun. It's something I've been wanting to do for a long time, but finally doing it. And pretty much primarily talking about sci-fi, fantasy, and some horror. I would like to loop in some historical fiction in the future as well, just because those are like my most well-read genres. But yeah.
What historical fiction do you read?
Most of it has been like Bernard Cornwell and
Yes. Is it Sharp or is it Saxons?
I've read Sharp. I've read some Sharp and a lot of the Saxon stories. But
I got you.
Yeah, my brother's a huge Sharp fan, and like that whole like time period and everything about that. So he's been reading that since I don't know, we were 12. But
I love Sharp. I've been reading Sharp since high school.
Yeah,
I love Sharp. I haven't read any of the Saxon stuff yet, just because like Vikings aren't really my thing. Like the Saxons, like it's not really my time period. Just like you're talking about, like with your brother, like the Napoleonic War is his thing.
Yep.
But Cornwell's Warlord Chronicles are some of the best I've ever read.
Like I know, and they're everywhere right now. Everyone's talking about them. I just like, I have them. I haven't gotten to them, but I want to read that, and I want to read the Grail Quest is like his other trilogy. I think
you need to read Warlord Chronicles. Some of the best, probably the best historical fiction I've ever read. And it's
my god!
Well, I listened to it on audio, and it was what sold me finally on audiobooks. Like I had not listened to audio prior to that, but the narrator is so good, and it moves over a lot of the really slow, like, hey, this is post-Roman England stuff that's really hard to like get through, especially if you're not familiar with post-Roman England. Bunch of Welsh names and crap like that. He just breezes through. Jonathan Keeble is such a good narrator. I'm not like, all I want to do every time I finish an audiobook, I just want to restart. I want to like, my next one should just be Warlord again. So good.
Yeah. Does he do? Is he the one that does Saxon stories?
He does the first three, I think, Saxons, or 3 or 4 Saxon stories.
Yeah, I've never done the audiobooks for those, but
I haven't. That's what's almost tempted me to read the first one. Yeah. But the fact that he doesn't do all of them makes me sad. So
yeah.
But Cornwell's
first couple books, he is. First couple books in that, the Saxon stories are really, really good. I love them. They're also super quick, especially after reading like epic fantasy and stuff. So
yeah, very cool.
Yeah.
I just finished a Sharp book on audio, like, last week.
Oh wow!
Because it's something that's fast as opposed to fancy. Sorry, Steve, I interrupted your flow.
No, there's no flow. Go for it.
First of all, Steve, your voice is so soothing and calm. Like, there's going to be people here who are like, man, I sure hope Alan rants about something. I'll be like, well, Steve's like the anti-rants. Like, listen to Steve's voice. It's so like, I don't know. Like, you send Steve out to like calm the dragon, to be like, hey, everything's going to be all right. And the rage like quells. But anyway, I'm Alan from the Library of Alexandria. I've been on Booktube for 2 years now, though the last few months it's been challenging to just do everything that I used to do, mostly because of school. I have a really good crop of students this year who care a lot, or who alternate between caring a lot and then being teenagers and filling me with massive amounts of disappointment. But when they're on, they are on. And so I've been spending a lot of time with my kids and prepping for next year and competition and stuff like that. So I didn't read it all in April. And that just set me behind. I'm trying to catch up. I'm back now. Like I'm reading. I set myself, like, in order to read everything I need to read this month, 78 pages a day, and I have met or exceeded that every single day since I made that thing. So, but I'm on. I'm not in school right now, but I still have all this work to do. And so I'm like, after I do a bunch of work, write a bunch of slides about frickin' Augustus, I'm like, do I really want to access my brain and film a video? No. Yeah. So I sit and I either read or play Trails of Cold Steel 3, just like and read hundreds of pages of text on the freaking screen playing a dang RPG. Yes. Anyway, my Booktube channel is Library of Alexandria. I talk about fantasy, military fantasy a lot, like especially Flintlock fantasy, because as I was just talking with Alex, like I love Sharp and the Napoleonic War era, and so like that era of tech, I really like. So I'm on a quest to find the best of Flintlock, and I forgot how good the Shadow campaigns were. I just reread the first book of that, and I'd read the series before, but that should be the standard for Flintlock fantasy, not Powder Mage. And I feel so bad saying that, because chapter 1 of Promise of Blood, of the first book of Powder Mage, is one of the best first chapters I've ever read. And then the rest of it is written by somebody else. So it makes me really sad. But Thousand Names, the first book in Shadow Campaigns, is about as good of a Flintlock fantasy as I can find. It's sharp with magic. It's so good.
Wow.
Nice. So what sent you on the quest for Flintlock fantasy?
So Promise of Blood, really, Powder Mage. So I've always liked Sharp and the Napoleonic War, and I've always liked muskets, and like I like guns. So this is going to sound weird and out of context. Please forgive me. I think war is interesting in a, let's go in a fictional context, but once you can mow down thousands of people within seconds, or like, hundreds of thousands of people within seconds, like when automatic weapons and, bombs and stuff, it just stops really being about like tactics. Like I like general versus general, field army versus field army. I teach Greek and Roman history. So I like, like the Romans fielding a bunch of people and winning tactically, and then Hannibal beating the Romans tactically. I like that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And so, but I also like the idea of, muskets and magic, like in the same thing. It just appeals to me. And so December of 2020, we read over on the Shelf Space Discord. We had Jesse May ran a book club every month. And my pick was Promise of Blood, because I'm like, this cover looks so cool and the premise sounds so cool. Like this is going to be really awesome. Because I'd read Shadow Campaigns before, but that was really it. And we read it, and the first chapter was so good. And then the rest of the book, I don't know what happened. I don't understand. Like I want so bad to like it, and I keep reading it. I keep reading the novellas, even though I don't like them, because the setting is so cool. It's freaking revolutionary France. They have the bloody guillotine, and they've taken over and overthrown the nobility or the royalty, and there's muskets and gunpowder's the freaking magic system.
Yeah, it's so cool.
But it just never pays dividends. It's so after reading that, there were a lot of people who really liked the aesthetic, like the Flintlock stuff, and they're like, Alan, like, have you read any others? And I mentioned Shadow Campaigns, and then we went looking for other Flintlock and saw Adrian Tchaikovsky's Guns of the Dawn, which is about a noble. It's excellent. There's a noble woman who ends up going to war. And it was so good. So we read that the following May. And after that, it's like, all right, my goal is I'm gonna read as much Flintlock as I can. I'm gonna try to find as much Flintlock as I can so that I can be the sage, the Flintlock sage, and be able to tell people like, hey, so I know you've heard of Powder Mage, but what if you read something else, instead of that? And I get it. Like I understand its mass appeal. I don't understand its fantasy reader appeal, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
Like for just someone like a layman picking up a book that, like, oh, this is like, it's got guns in it and some magic. Yeah. I mean, I can see it, but as someone who's read fantasy, I'm just like, what are you doing? That there can't be 1 million people in that army, right? Like, 1 million people is too much. Like one side can't have 1 million people. Like just Google Brian McClellan and you can see that 1 million is too many. It bothers me so much. Just Google 1 million's too many people on one side.
Are you reading are you going to read his new book? I think. In the Shadow of Lightning, I think it's called.
So I have not heard great things about it. And I'm not trying to
Really?
I'm not trying to be like a downer on your podcast, Steve, being like, I hate Smurf Berry Pie. That's not what I'm trying to do. But I wasn't going to pick it up because I'm trying to finish Powder Mage first, because I'm going to read all of Powder Mage. Like, I'm going to, because if I want to be the expert, I need to have read it all, right? But this new one, I mean, the people that I know, like even Patrick, who loves everything, like Patrick, like you want Patrick to review your book. I see you want to review your book. But even Patrick was like, it was fine, you know? And I'm like, oh, Patrick said it was fine? So I don't know. I do not plan on reading in the Shadow of Lightning, though. I think his magic systems are cool, but you know,
it sounds kind of like, I mean, I don't really know much about it. I know it has something to do with glass, but the whales being described kind of sounded like Mistborn.
Yes,
like,
many people have compared it to Alan.
Yep.
And Chitty had a question. Are you the dragon, Alan?
I am. Hold on. Shelf set. Are you saying that Powder Mage is so good? Bryce, come on.
I'm getting there.
Surely. Sure. And yes, I am the dragon that Steve calms. Note that I could have launched into a full-blooded Brian McClellan rant.
Feel free.
The nobles in Brian McClellan's stories, like, they are compelled. There is some disease in their blood that compels them, that if they are around a commoner, or especially Field Marshal Tomas, who rose up the ranks as a commoner instead of being a noble, they must comment on Tomas's commoner blood. They have to. Like, I think they'll die if they don't. Like, if they're in his presence and they don't comment on his, like, you know, illegitimate birth, they themselves will perish. Every noble in the Powder Mage universe has this one personality trait, and it is hating commoners. Like, literally, all they want to do is hunt them for sport. Like, I've never seen, like, it's like just took like a stamp and just been like, okay, your personality is you hate the poor, and that's it. Unless they're a good guy. But all the bad guys, it's just let's eat the poor. That's all they are. And I'm just like, come on, man, come on. Anyway.
And Hannah Blackwell's here. Hello, just joining. Finished filming my second ever Booktube video earlier. Now just relaxing and reading Priory of the Orange Tree. So welcome to Booktube, Hannah. Alan and Alex, what advice would you give to Hannah now she's embarking on the Booktube journey?
Well, I just started, but my advice would definitely be, don't overthink. I think it's really easy to go back and re-edit and edit, or try to edit, or like get self-conscious about what you're about to put up and then not put it up. And I feel like putting stuff out is almost just as important as what you're putting out, especially when you're first starting. So that'd be my advice. But
you gotta be consistent. And I was less self-conscious when I started because no one was watching than I am now. Now I'm like, oh, do I want to do that? But my advice is get plugged in to the community and talk to people and comment on everything and watch other people's videos. And if you're doing it because you want 500,000 subs, because you want this to be your job, you should not do it. You should do something else. Because like the second you start gunning for subs, like if you are a sub chaser, I mean, everyone knows it. Like everyone knows if that's what you're doing. You know what I mean? You have an opinion that doesn't go against the grain. Like, look, no one could ever accuse me of that because I have terrible opinions that everyone hates. But you know, there are some people that do that. But most of the time, just do it and have fun. People are generally really nice. Like people are generally really, really nice. And the douchebags just block them. That's what I do.
Yeah. Welcome,
I just
Taylor.
came into the conversation, but I agree with everything that was just said. This is not the niche for blowing up with views. So if that's your goal, Booktube is not what you should do.
Yeah.
But, sorry, I'm like, guys, morning.
Morning. It's morning in Japan, so yeah.
Where are you in Japan?
I'm in Fukuoka.
Oh my
Japan.
gosh, I studied in Fukuoka.
You're lying.
No,
That is
I-
so rare to hear.
I spent a summer semester in Japan, and it was in Fukuoka.
You're kidding me. So you stayed in the best place in the country, essentially.
I completely agree with you. Holy crap.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, can you imagine? I've never met anyone else who's come here. It's always Tokyo or Osaka, which is fine. But I did not expect that.
It's a ship town, you know. It's like a steel town. They were like, this is one of the dirtiest cities in Japan. I'm like, this is cleaner than the cleanest city in America.
Right.
So,
like, what are you talking about?
I know. Like, I would have eaten off of the subway ground. Like, that's how clean that crap was.
It's still incredibly clean here. That's bonkers. Holy shit.
I love Fukuoka.
Oh man, do you have a favorite like place that you remember or anything that sticks out? I know it might have been a while ago. But.
Look, the people at McDonald's knew me though, because I can't eat Japanese food. So I went in there and ordered like 8 shaka chickens at one time, and then I shoved them in my backpack and just eat them like throughout the day. We didn't really. Where did we go in Fukuoka? We went to. There was an arcade we went to. It was a long time ago, and there was in Fukuoka proper. There was a Domino's pizza that I had to trek on a quest to. It took like an hour to walk to, so I could get a freaking pepperoni pizza because there's no pepperoni pizza anywhere. So I had to go to the Domino's.
No. It's corn and mayonnaise pizza. You know, you're in the wrong country for pepperoni pizza.
Yeah, pass on that. So it's just like, and I stayed with a homestay family for a few days, like on the outskirts, out in the country. But it was just. Man, Fukuoka was awesome. I loved Japan. It was so nice.
Yeah, it's definitely, there's a lot of good points about this country. But I think what I love the most about Fukuoka is it's got amazing food. And maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot here because basically the reason I like it is it has amazing food. It's clean. It's really easy to live in. But the tourists haven't found it yet. So maybe I'm shooting myself in the foot by saying that, but
well, that was the big thing when we were there is not everybody spoke English like they do in like the bigger tourist cities. So it was just there were 2 of us who had completed Japanese 5, and then 3 kids who had just finished Japanese 2. They didn't know anything, so they relied on us to like translate everything. And I wish I was still good at Japanese, but 14 years without using it is.
If you don't use it, you lose it. You know,
I know. It makes me very, very sad.
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sorry to come in and take over the conversation.
Sorry about that.
Because we're talking about
no one's ever been to Fukuoka.
Right. Ever. That just blew my mind. We have to talk more about this offline at some point so we don't take over this whole live.
No, keep going. That's what this is all about.
Yeah. Well, I love this city. So come, but don't tell all your friends. Don't bring all your friends. Just come by yourself. Fukuoka. But yeah, I love living here. The food is incredible. I've been spoiled.
Why are you there? Did you just decide to go there?
So I kind of similar story to you that in high school I actually studied abroad, and then my company just by off chance sent me to Fukuoka. I didn't choose it. And then I had a host family I really connected with, and we're still really good friends to this day. So I, went back to the States and lived my life there for a while, and then. I've always kind of been a wanderlusty person. I'm always moving somewhere, going somewhere. So I felt, I think it's time to go back to Japan. And since my host family that I was still connected to was in Fukuoka, I figured, why not Fukuoka? And I'm still here.
That is awesome. So there's like a mall that's like on a canal. This is
Canal City.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yes.
They have like light shows and stuff.
Yes. Dang. That's so awesome. That makes me so happy. Yes.
Yeah, truly.
And,
Sorry.
Eric,
What are the
I'm
odds?
in Japan, and it's always like Tokyo or Osaka.
Right.
And I'm just like, of course it is. I'm like, I'm in Fukuoka. It's on Kyushu.
Yeah, right. Excuse you, plebeians.
Exactly.
Over on Honshu.
Exactly. You Honshu.
And Eric has a comment. Instrumentalities of the Night by
That's
Glenn Cook.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Have
awesome.
you read that one?
I haven't. I've only read The Black Company.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my list. But
Yeah, I haven't read it.
War and politics is horrible in real life, but so interesting to read about.
I agree.
Yeah, definitely.
It's the beauty of, fiction. It allows you to explore those things, without any real world casualties. So
Yeah. It's also like, because I talk about, again, the Greeks and the Romans, and I'm kind of allowed to because it was so long ago. It might as well have been fiction. You know what I mean? So when I'm like, yes, the Romans, no one really gets on to me about the Romans, because whatever. But I can't talk about like Empire now. Like I don't like Empire now, but I do like the Romans, and I like Empire in books. But I don't like.
It's long enough ago,
Yeah.
It's touchable.
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
The pure maths make the book about magic unrealistic. Love that rationale.
Look, the magic don't make no sense either. The magic, the mages are unkillable until the second that they're not, and just don't even just stop.
I think I'm opening can of worms by asking, but I missed what book. What book is this?
I'm talking about
Powder Mage,
and it makes me so sad
okay.
because Brian McClellan seems like such a nice guy, and I keep reading them because I keep trying to find things that I like, and every now and then I do, and I make sure everyone knows, like, hey, guys, this short story / novella was actually really good because it focuses on what he does well, which are some action scenes. But like, I don't know.
I haven't read any of his books, so I can't actually comment. But
oh, did you read all of Long Price, or did you quit after Shadow and Summer? If you quit after the first one, like I get it, but like if you read the whole series and didn't like it, I'd actually be really surprised. But everyone hates.
I get it, but I'm judging you for it.
Yeah, I mean, I judge everybody for everything.
Taylor, earlier we were talking about Hannah Blackwell. She just started her YouTube channel and wanted to know if you had any advice for her. That's what we were chatting about when you came in.
Gotcha. Yeah. Well, what I came in on, you guys saying was definitely very good. So make sure that your intentions for doing it are for you, which sounds really cheesy, but if the intentions are not for you, it's not going to last because, I've sunk hours and hours and hours of time, unpaid time, of course, learning to edit, learning to make better thumbnails and money as well, buying software. You don't have to buy software. There's ways to do it without it, but I chose to. So, it's just something that it is a hobby, until it's not, if you're really successful. And I really hope that for you, but just be prepared to spend some time on it. Let's put it that way. It's not a really quick hobby.
Yeah.
But the other thing I would say is take the time to engage with your comments, because I do know some people who don't do that as much. And I think that's really important because that can remind you why you do it, because that's what we're all here for, is that connection. So making sure you take time, carve out time. I carve out time, every a couple mornings a week to just sit down with comments, and that'll bring the joy back if you're missing it.
Yeah.
So.
Also, hitch your wagon to Philip Chase, because everyone loves Philip, and no matter what Philip suggests, everyone will want to read it with him, no matter what. Like literally. Like meanwhile, I'm over here desperately like, hey, what if y'all read this book? And then like, oh, what? I don't really have time. And then Philip swoops in like, hey guys, so I think I'm going to read this 5,000 page novel. And like all those people who just rejected my 300 page one are like, oh my gosh, oh man, Philip.
I'm going to read that.
Seriously. That's true.
How can anyone not like Philip though? He's the nicest person.
I mean, I like Philip too, except that he freaking steals all my friends.
he is a friend thief.
The nerve.
For sure. Yeah. For sure.
Like it's like the people don't realize they do it. They're not consistent. Like they won't just be like, Alan, I don't want to read your book. Like Alan, I don't want to read your book. Okay, cool. That's fine. I don't have time. Yes, you do. Yes, you do. Because the second Philip Chase asks you to do something, you're going to do it. Philip is a leader of men. He's my arch nemesis now. Jimmy, you have never read a book I have suggested you read, Jimmy. You read one that I was going to read, and then one that the plebs voted on. And the one that I suggested you read, which is Warlord, you loved. So don't start with that. Me read good books, Jimmy Nuts.
I feel like we've had 2 guests now that I've been here that have claimed Philip as their arch nemesis. So this is like a common. AP did it as well. I feel like.
Yeah, well, I mean, AP and Philip do everything
going
together.
through here.
Philip doesn't steal AP's friends. They just hate each other for some reason.
For being such a nice guy, he sure does have a lot of enemies out there.
Yeah.
I mean, he is nice, but like, that's how he gets you.
Meat is the only acceptable pizza topping. Yeah, look, the pizza here in Japan, I just say it's an open-faced sandwich because it's not pizza. It's not. Like, I'm from New York. My family's from New York, and it's just. I will never show my family what pizza looks like here because they'll tell me to move home. You know, it's just they'll be extremely insulted. Yeah, it's not.
Not good, huh?
There's a lot of good food here, but not the pizza.
I had to go on a quest. I paid, and this was in 2008. I paid $30 for a large pepperoni pizza, and I got
Hasn't
back.
changed.
Yeah, I got back, and all the other 4 students who were with me, who would not accompany me on my trek, said, "Oh, hey, can I get a piece?" I said, "You cannot, and you can keep your rubbing
Absolutely
hands off
not.
of it." And I saved it, and I ate it for 2 days. I gave them nothing, not a brass farthing did I give them. They could have come with me.
Rightfully
and I
so.
was scared to pizza. They did not come.
It is rightfully so. It is a quest, you know.
It started raining on me on the way back, so I was wet. Had a wet pizza box on the freaking subway riding back.
A tragedy. True tragedy.
So, Alex, pineapple on pizza, yes or no?
I'm a yes for that. I like it. Yeah.
Alan, pineapple on pizza.
No. And here, okay, I'm gonna explain to you the weird stuff on pizza principle. There's nothing wrong with liking pineapple on pizza. It's fine. I don't like pineapple on pizza. But here's the thing: if you are someone who insists on getting pineapple on pizza, and you're in a group and they order a special pizza that has pineapple on it,
That's true.
you don't get to eat from the regular pizza. You got to eat from your weird pizza because I won't eat from your weird pizza. So when you eat from your weird pizza and eat from my like regular plain normal pizza, no, because I had that happen. Literally, I was trying to freaking host something, and by the time I was able to eat, they'd eaten all the pizza. I'm like, are y'all serious? They're like, oh, we got this weird crap. I'm like, we've been friends for 10 years, y'all. Like, y'all left me the what? I'm not eating the weird crap. Y'all wanted the weird crap. You eat the weird pizza.
You're so protective of your pizza, and I love it. I'm living for this.
I don't like.
He earned that pizza.
I'm not picky.
Right.
I just want to make sure that it's fair. Like, if you want the pineapple, eat the pineapple. That's what you wanted. Otherwise, eat the cheese and pepperoni like the normal folks over here.
Well, to follow up on my rant about it's not pizza, I am gonna blaspheme and say I like pineapple on pizza.
That's
I like
fair.
it.
Just don't eat off my pepperoni pizza.
Just slowly pick off a piece, while you're not looking.
So before we went live, Alex and I were talking about it being a long week for us. So I wondered how do you all handle a long week, whether it's work or personal? How do you process that? What are techniques you have to kind of get through those harder weeks?
Well, I started a whiskey and books group, so whiskey. For sure.
For most things, yeah.
Yes, I enjoy a glass. What else do I do? Exercise for me. For some people, it's not as connected to their mental health. Maybe they can separate the two. But if I'm not working out, if I'm not exercising, it has a serious effect on my mental health. So even if I'm like upset and I'm like, this week sucked and I don't want to do anything, I know that if I make myself go lift weights, I'm going to feel so much better. So put on some angry music, go lift weights. That's something that I really like to do. And I would say reading, but I tend to do that when I'm in a good mood, not when I'm in a bad mood. So I'd say lift weights for me.
I would say exercise too. My wife and I are like big runners, so I feel we usually have a kind of structured schedule when it comes to if we're like training for a race or something. COVID kind of threw a wrench in that, but we have like when we have a race and we have like a training plan or something to lead up to that, I think it really helps. It just, as long as you're sticking to it, it makes the week go by quickly and it feels good just mentally on a daily basis to be able to do it.
I used to run in college. That's a far gone hobby of mine. Cardio is not my jam anymore.
What about you, Alan? Do you have any
I despise
techniques?
running. Like I despise. Like I hate exercising. I hate everything about it. I don't like being sweaty. I don't like being hot. I hate running. Like I just don't. I need to because I have poor eating habits and I need to exercise. So I do. But if I had a bad week, I don't. No. I handle things poorly. So I have medication that helps me handle things better. But I don't know. I get depressed. At the worst, I will literally just sit there and I'll just play video games and just like stop talking to anybody because I don't want to be productive. I don't want to read. I don't want to do anything. I'm finding summer being really, really difficult in not like I'm having a really difficult time getting up in the morning because I don't have to be at work, even though I need to be doing work. So I'll get up at like freaking 10. I've wasted my whole bleeding morning. Because during the year I'm up at 6:30, get to school because I need to be to school by 7:30, and so I don't know. Like I don't know. I try to do something that's going to make me feel like a decent human being, like feel good about myself. So I don't know. Every now and then my students will say something nice, but usually they make me feel like what I do literally doesn't make a difference. But I don't know. Like. I don't know. I go to Busch Gardens when I'm like my favorite thing to do is Busch Gardens and look at the orangutans and ride roller coasters, because I have a very, very like attachment from my childhood to Busch Gardens. So I go there. I'm going to go there for like a couple weeks or something. But that's if I could do that. If I could just like teleport there and go watch the orangutans, I'd be in a good mood and teleport back. So. I try not to. I hate hard weeks. I just hate them. They make me tired, and then I can't do anything, and then I don't want to film anything, and then I get behind, and then I feel really bad because I'm behind, and I don't know. I carry everything.
It's a perpetual cycle. I feel like when we're hard on ourselves, So I'm kind of the same way. My thing that I've been struggling with recently is actually taking a day to not do anything and feel okay about it. I'm not saying I don't have days where I don't do anything, but I'm saying to actually feel okay not doing anything. I'm really struggling with that because I have multiple jobs here. My husband and I have like a restaurant, and then I teach, and then I do Booktube, and there's just a lot of like different things that I do. So making a day where I don't do any of those things, like I have a Japanese test coming up, and if I don't study that day, I'm like, well, I'm worthless, so if I take a day to actually not do something, I'm really struggling with that. I think I've heard a lot of people talk about that, and like just like creatives in general, especially if part of your hobby or what you do is outside of an office and it's something that you do, like your workspace and your hobby space kind of gets combined, then you feel like there's not a safe space where you feel like you cannot do anything.
Yeah.
So I think that's kind of happened to me recently, and I'm trying to figure out how to manage, if there's a way to manage that.
Are you about to take is it the JLPT? Is that what you're about to say?
Yeah, I'm taking the level 2. So second highest.
Whoa. Nice.
Yeah.
We took the lowest one back in college.
The 5 and 5, yeah.
But yeah, and I wish I'd have kept going with it. Dang, you're doing the 2 because there's that huge jump between 4 and 3, isn't there? Isn't that the big jump?
Yep, between 4 and 3. I passed 3 by some miracle a couple of years ago. So I took 2 already once as like a practice round. I was not expecting to pass, and believe me, I did not.
Yeah.
But this time around, I'm really hoping to. But the huge gap is between. So just to give you guys context, there's a test called the JLPT. There's 5 levels, and the top level is 1. Yeah, Japanese language proficiency test, exactly. The top is 1 and the bottom is 5. And so between level 4 and level 3, as Alan said, there's a huge jump. And then between 3 and 2, it's not a huge jump, but the type of language changes. So Japanese has a very structured language based on who you're talking to. So there's a whole section of language that's called keigo, which is polite language, and words become 3 times as long for literally no fucking
That's
reason.
what you learn.
It's
in
horrible.
It's academic language.
Exactly. So like the second one focuses on reading newspaper articles and news and things like that, and it's something that I don't do so often. I hang out with friends and I chat, but I don't really read scholarly articles. So We'll see how I do this time around. Fingers crossed.
It's my Genki
What is
textbook. It's like literally on. It's under
You
my
do not still have Genki. Oh my
Dude, It's
god.
my Genki textbook. It's right here under my desk.
My god. Wait. Let me see. Let me see your handwriting. How'd it go? How was it?
Oh, you want to see my handwriting? This is the textbook. I'd have to grab my.
Oh,
workbook.
okay. You didn't have the workbook.
My workbook. Oh, hold on.
I don't have my.
Oh my
Wow.
god. You
Oh
just
my God.
unlocked a memory.
Oh, I didn't write in it. I made
Memory for me.
photocopies, so I did. So I have a
I
notebook
see.
somewhere that has my handwriting.
Oh my god.
Look, my hiragana. I got some ugly hiragana, and they told me when I was over there because we had to make
Yeah.
we made it's like a scroll, and they told me that my writing was ugly. I was like, that is so.
Not
you're
even hold back.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be this forceful with your criticism, Japanese people, from what I heard when I was over in America. You're supposed
They're
to be
subtle
around the
with it.
bush.
They're like, maybe you should practice more. It's usually
They just say chigao a lot. Like, no, it's different.
Chigao.
It's different. It's different.
different.
Not,
It's like,
not what you did.
It's like Germans are really like, because I took German all through high school and then a little bit in college. But anytime when we went to Germany itself, they're really, if you're not speaking something right, they'll definitely make you make
Yes.
sure you know. Yeah.
Mhm.
My wife's dad's family is German, and he was trying to learn how to speak German, but because his German relatives would do that thing, that exact thing
Yep.
you're talking about.
It's like
he got
my
self-conscious.
dad's parents.
Yeah, so
Cool.
he stopped trying because he got self-conscious about doing it.
Yeah.
It's ironic hearing that, because if you do get the stereotypical like Japanese reaction where they're like, oh, good job, like even if you say konnichiwa, they're like, wow, look at you, so you end up saying the wrong thing for years, and you're like, why did no one tell me that this word is not this? And they're like, oh, it's close enough. I'm like, no, it's unacceptable.
My favorite
but
are shopkeepers.
Yeah.
I love those
When you walk
guys.
in. So when you walk into a shop in Japan, they have to greet you out loud. So irashaimase is like welcome to the shop, but they say it when everyone comes in. So it's just like
repeatedly
constant.
and often barely sounding out the syllables. This is and they do that. My favorite thing is I asked them where something was in like a electronics store, and they were trying to show me that they were trying to hurry to show me that my question was important, but they weren't going to run and leave me behind. So it's like this fake run. It's like it's like they're like pretending to run, but moving at a slow pace. And I was like, this guy's awesome. Made me so happy.
Oh my
Yeah. My God, the lengths people will go to. Like the other day, I'm still surprised by it sometimes. I was buying ice, and the big ice containers were out. And so it's like, all right, I'll buy like the small coffee ice and just use that. So in Japan, you can get like an instant coffee cup that already has ice in it, and then you just put it in the machine and it'll fill it with coffee. And so the guy was like, oh, what coffee do you want? I was like, oh, I'm just getting it for the ice. And he's like, what do you mean? Don't we have ice? I said, no. So he's like, hold on a second. He did that fake run all the way to the back of the store, went to the back, was gone for a minute or two, came back with like 2 different sizes. He's like, which one do you want? And I'm like, I just want ice, man. Like you don't need to, really went out of his way. I appreciate it.
Anyway, sorry, we're not trying to talk about Japan forever, but
No, it's good stuff.
I've literally never met anybody who's been to Fukuoka ever.
We definitely need to chat offline because we can name drop,
Seriously, so good. Oh man, it's so fun. So fun.
Right.
I know
with you, Jonathan. By the way.
I know Taylor's a whiskey connoisseur, but Alan and Alex, do you enjoy whiskey?
I do. I like it a lot. That and wine. Like 2 years ago, I got really into whiskey. My brother and I would like text over things that we found in random liquor stores and try to write, like tasting notes stuff. Got super nerdy over it. And then last summer we did the same with wine, and it can get expensive, but it's really good.
Do you agree with Jonathan? Sip and savor, but don't shoot it because that's a waste.
Yeah, I would agree. Depends on the whiskey. But
I'm not gonna sip and savor an Evan Williams. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
That's
Jack
going
Daniels.
in Coke.
I don't really drink. I drink Coke Zero almost exclusively. When I was over in Japan, I drank regular Coke. Like, I don't drink 8 Cokes a day, but I used to drink 8 regular sodas a day, regular Cokes. They called me Cola-san. Really, they said Cola-san. Like, seriously. About like my house dad, my Oto-san, the dorm dad, he would point at me because I didn't eat anything, so I would always have a bag of potato chips, and I smoked at the time, so I was chain smoking in like especially the English speaking room where we could smoke, thank goodness. And so he'd be like, you, cola, tobacco, potato chips, cola, tobacco, potato chips. I'm like, yes, Oto-san, I get it. He's like, Genki janai. I'm like, I get it. I know it's unhealthy, Oto-san. I understand. Anyway, that guy was great. I bet he's dead now. That makes me sad. Well, no, he might be. He was old, but
people in this country live like so long, so
true.
very well could still.
He was like Master Roshi from Dragon Ball Z. Like, that's what he was like. It's just like, Oto-san, what are you doing? Yeah. Anyway, so I drink Coke Zero a lot, but every now and then I'll have like a Sam Adams Boston Lager, not them weird things when I have wings. So I drink beer with wings sometimes. But ordinarily, like, I'm just thirsty. So I just want Coke. I just want a Coke Zero. Now I try to drink a regular Coke and I feel like I'm going to die. So I don't know
it's
how.
Heavy. If you take a break from drinking Coke and then you drink it again, it's a lot.
Philip had a question for you, Alex. How far do you run?
Well, right now we're like getting back into it. The pandemic kind of shifted everything, but before that we were doing like marathon and 50K, so longer. And I would love to do like the longer distances, like 50 and 100 miles down the road, but we'll see. It's something to definitely work up to, like a more of a life farther down in life type goal. But, yeah.
When I was in university, I thought myself a runner, like I said. So I started a running club. But then I made a friend who does the long runs like you. And I was more of like 8 miles is good. Like, I wasn't going to go farther than that. But I would join him for his like 25-mile training runs because he had like a 50-miler in the future. You all are a different breed of people. Let me just tell you. Like, he had like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches like shoved in his little pocket pouch and stuff to eat. You know,
it's
I respect it.
Yeah, it's crazy. My first like 50K, which was a trail race, I did it like a month after a marathon, and the difference between how those races are run is like crazy. Like, the marathon is really intense. No matter what marathon you're doing, like the people there can be really intense and are really just like tuned in and want to go all out and try to qualify for whatever they're trying to qualify for. And then you do a trail race and everyone's there just like opening a beer in the middle of the race and like having like steak in the middle. Like, I ran 16 miles. I have 16 more. I'm going to have like a burger. And it's just like, what? So that definitely takes getting used to doing that type of shift and race atmosphere.
I hate running a mile on my treadmill. Like, I'm just like, I gotta stop this.
I hate treadmill running, but if
I didn't live in Florida, I can't run outside. Like, I'll die instantly. Walking to my car is death because it's so hot. It's too hot. I can't run outside. But I have to run inside. I cannot. Yeah. The only thing I can contribute to this marathon conversation is the interesting factoid that everyone knows it's named after, because it's okay. So marathon is 26 miles from Athens, right? And after the Battle of Marathon, where the Athenians miraculously repelled the forces of Darius the Great without the help of Sparta, Factivities ran the 26 miles to Athens, to the Ecclesia, and been like, "Hey, we won," and then he died. But before the battle, he'd run all the way to Sparta. He'd run even farther. He'd run all the way to Sparta to be like, "Hey, Sparta, Persians are coming. You want to help us?" And they're like, "We got a festival. Sorry." Like, we'll
turn back around.
Yeah, and he had to turn back around and run all the way. No one talks about the freaking 100 and something miles he ran the first time. Yeah. They just talk about the 26.
This is news to me. You said everyone knew it, but I was today years old when I learned that.
Well, there you go. It's named after, Marathon is named after a city of Marathon. It was 26 miles away from Athens. And they beat like a Persian army like 6 times, 7 times their size. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. There are actually people that I know in the Boston Marathon specifically will run that exact thing. They'll like run from the finish line to the start line, or they'll start the start line, start at like 3 hours before the race itself starts, run the race, run back, and then run the race, and then just and it's just like, wow.
They're channeling their Factivities.
They are.
I got 1 mile in me, and then I'm done.
I think at my core, I tried to be as good of a runner as you are, but I think I'm more on the other side. Like I tried. I was like, I can be a runner, but my core is not. No. I'm going against my nature.
Yeah. My wife's actually definitely the better runner than me. I've rowed in college, so like crew and rowing boats and stuff. So that's what I did in college, and then kind of got really burnt out after that when I graduated. So I was trying to started running because it was cheap and easy, and I could do it without getting in a boat.
That is true. You can do it anywhere, anytime.
Yeah. Yep.
How tall are you?
I'm 6'8".
Wow.
Yeah.
That explains your name.
So
you're sitting down, so it's like Pixar didn't happen, prove it. But
fun fact, Alexander the Great was only 5 feet tall. And when he ran into King Porus of India, like he was over 7 feet tall. And so Alexander literally thought he was fighting freaking giants. He's like, what the crap is this? He would have towered over. He's like, hey buddy, how you doing? I'm going to conquer the world today. Like, get it, Alex. Like, he's tiny. His dad, Philip of Macedon's only like 5'4". Little tiny people. And my kids always laugh about that. I'm like, they could beat the crap out of y'all. So y'all shut up, teenagers. Like, the Romans were only 5'6". Oh, 5'6" of raw muscle. Like they could look at you and you die. Sorry.
Been fighting since day one.
Seriously, fighting like they fight their way out of the womb. That's right. Form square. Get in phalanx formation. That's sorry. Getting manifold.
No, it's okay. I'm learning a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't know any of that either. So.
Stacy had a question. What is the most embarrassing thing you've done on camera because you forgot you were on camera or thought you were muted?
I do stuff and I'm not easily embarrassed. And if I did something embarrassing, I would just edit it out. And live, I mean, whatever. I was talking about a Mistborn book, and I called Brandon Sanderson Brian Sanderson, and I didn't notice it. And it wasn't until I was editing that I noticed it, and I couldn't edit it out. Yeah. Like couldn't have. So free as a bird, calling him Brian Sanderson, like I don't know the man's name. Whatever. But that was embarrassing. Especially, no, I didn't even notice it until it went live. That's what it was. Oh, even editing, I missed it. And someone pointed out, like, did you say Brian Sanderson? I'm like, no.
Here we are. We're already here, so time to own it.
Yeah, I guess I did. So.
What about you, Alex? I'm sorry.
Go ahead. No, Alex, go ahead.
Okay. Well, I mean, YouTube, I can't think of anything just because I haven't been on it for that long. But I guess in like work with Zoom calls, I would say, well, I have 3 like big loud dogs, and one time they'll just come in and just like jump up, and I'll just like talk to them. But there have been a couple times where I wasn't muted during like a meeting with 50 or 100 people, and all of a sudden everyone's just like, "What are you? Who is that?" And then my face just pops up in front of 100 people, and it's people so much higher than me. They're just like, "Who is this person talking to a dog in this meeting?" But so that's always fun. But
yeah, it's a really good question, Stacey, because I'm sure there are moments, maybe I've blocked them from my memory. There have been times, like with what Alan said, that you say a name wrong and you kind of realize it after, or you pronounce a character's name wrong and you're like, this is going to be every single comment for the rest of my life on this video is going to be that I pronounce his name wrong. So I've had experiences like that, but maybe just in life, there have been times where like, karaoke is a thing here, right? And so, but it's a thing for people of all singing abilities. Like people will not shame you in that room if you suck. So I have a base level of singing ability, but push me any higher and the voice is gone. So I remember once, of course, everyone was drinking, I think, at this time. So someone was taking a video of like a group of people singing, and I was part of that group, and that's great. And then afterwards, I felt confident. I was like, I'm gonna sing a difficult song, and then the recording was not done yet. so I don't think they shared anything. Like, it wasn't live, but that is on a video somewhere of me attempting to sing. It wasn't like Mariah Carey. I'm not that crazy, but I think that it was definitely a song out of my range. So I think it's on tape somewhere, that attempt.
Can we talk about the fact that like every commenter and people in the comments, y'all know that I love y'all, but there is no reason when you're commenting 3 days later after a video has gone live that you need to correct the mistake that was made in the video. I promise someone already beat you to it. I promise. Like, you don't have some esoteric knowledge of Brandon Sanderson's actual name. Everyone knows it, and everyone's already told me. I promise you. Please stop. And I did it to poor Andrew the other day. Oh my gosh, Andrew, I'm so sorry. And I even told him I was sorry afterwards. Like, I didn't realize that it had gone up 2 days ago. And I was like, you held up the third book and not the second book of that series, right? Not even thinking like, of course he knows that. People are like, oh, Alan, you're the only one who knows the Order of the Shadow Campaigns books. No, you don't, idiots. Like, I'm so sorry. Andrew, I apologize again for being that guy. It's just like, every time I talk about, I like this author called KJ Parker. Ain't nobody ever heard of him, which is fine, but he's really good. He's like Joe Abercrombie meets Terry Pratchett. It's like that. But every time I talk about him, someone tells me, did you know that's actually the pseudonym of British humorist writer Tom Holt? And I'm like, yes. I just said he's one of my favorite authors. I own every book he has written. I own it physically, every book he's written. Why would I not know that? Please stop telling me. And I know people, they're just trying to be helpful. I do understand. So I don't get mad, but I'm just like, I know.
Well, what I think is just check the comments. If no one said what you said, say it. If someone else has said it, let it out. But in that comment, make it under that one comment. Tell me 15 times in one space, No,
no one reads the comments. Just on the top. Like, his name's Brandon Sanderson, right? Like, yeah, I did. Sorry, I misspoke.
Surprise.
Scroll down.
I was aware.
It's like whenever I drop my pointer in class, like I drop my pointer and the kids are like, oh, I'm like, yeah, like y'all have never dropped anything before. They act like it's the first time they've ever seen someone not hold on to something. Like, what's the problem? I see y'all drop crap all the time. Most notably, your grades. Oh.
I don't know if you're allowed to be both parts of the joke there, but I'll allow it for now. But I also want to just comment. Before in the comments, people were talking about the best cola, and I saw Coke Zero, and I want to comment on this because Alan mentioned it. Coke Zero tastes like ass. I'm sorry. I have to say, I'm not a fan of sugar-free colas. Like, if you're gonna do it, just have a little bit and have it the way it's intended. Is the way that I feel about it.
So I should just buy a regular soda and drink part of it?
Yes. Shocker.
What? But I'm
okay, but your face is exactly mine when I first came to this country, because you can buy large, like a large Coke and a small Coke for the same price in vending machines. I was like, what the hell? Why?
And the small one's too bleeding small, and the big one's too freaking big. When I was there, I'm like, I don't want your 20 or your 22 ounce bottle, or your freaking like tiny child-sized bottle. Why must I carry around a liter of Coke when I just want the normal 20 ounce? What's going on, Japan?
They're putting you between a rock and a hard place and making you choose. Make you think about your consumption.
I don't like that.
I don't like it.
That's aggressive, Japan.
What do you fall, Alex? Are you a fan of sugar-free colas?
Well, I used to be. Like, my family, my parents have drinking like Coke Zero and Diet Coke my whole life growing up. So when I went to college, me and my roommates would have it, and then I started drinking like seltzer and stuff, and then I went back to trying diet soda, and then I just like didn't like it as much. So now if I have soda, I'll just have like the regular one. Sometimes diet, but I don't know. It was weird. It was just a weird, like not having it for a while and then trying it again. It just didn't taste like what I thought it tasted like when I was drinking it more regularly.
That's a good point. It's amazing what you can get used to, you know, when you get
Yeah.
used to drinking something or eating something, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's probably dead. Jeez.
Yeah, I mean, Tosan, I love him. Poor guy. I hated diet soda when I was a regular soda drinker, but now I can't drink regular soda. And like T Books Magic is telling me to drink water. Everyone always says that. Water's gross and doesn't taste like anything. So that's why I'm not going to drink it. Now, if I got a bottle of Mio in my pocket, then I'll drink some water. Like right here. This was pink. I was drinking it a minute ago. It was water. But I can't, like, I hate, like, unless it's really, really hot, like, I'll guzzle some water if I'm dying. Like, walking around, like, I'm taking kids to Rome again next year, and it's hot. And they all complain. They don't understand, like, guys, we're in Rome, shut up. But it's hot. When I find one of those water fountains, glug, 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 I don't care. But normally, like, if I'm in my house, water doesn't taste like anything, or taste like pipes. Or I don't know. I don't like it.
I will say regular soda's much heavier. Like I feel like if I could have 4 diet sodas for 1 regular soda, like if I was just drinking a lot of soda, just like 1 regular soda, I just have one. I'm like, oh my God, I'm like full. Whereas with diet soda, I could just drink them all day.
It's true. Poor Andrew.
He accepted my apology later.
And so what does everyone have you ever hurt any body parts running, Alex, when you were training?
I've had like random one-off like knee, like random pains, like whether it's in my knee or my side or something, that I'll just stop running for a few days or a week or 2 and then go back into it. But nothing crazy. Usually it's like just overuse. Like endurance sports are a lot of like overuse injuries. So with rowing, it'd be ribs. Like people would get a lot of rib pain and then would not be able to row for a few days. And it's just like the problem happens when you feel the pain and then you keep doing it. And then that's when you can like really get severely injured, which could knock you out for much longer than a week or 2.
I needed you as a friend when I was younger because I used to be a huge soccer player. Like I was on 2 teams, like my school team and like a travel team. And I was really into it. And I do exactly what you said not to do. So I would feel the pain and do it anyway. And I broke my own ankle twice because I did not listen to the pain, because I would have like 2 practices in a day. And I remember once I had a collision with a goalie in my first practice, and I was like, my ankle doesn't feel so good. But then my dumbass went to the second practice and actually broke my own ankle at the practice. And my coach, he's like, what are we going to do now? Now you're out for months. Like, why would you do this? Like, our center midfielder's out now. And he's completely right. And you're completely right. So don't do as I say, not as I do.
I only know.
At that time.
I only know because I did that same thing in college.
Yeah.
I got injured and I like started feeling rib pain, and then I just kept practicing, and then it just got to the point where I was like, all right, you're out for 6 weeks or 8 weeks. And then that just totally middle of spring and like just not rowing that year. So
yeah.
And Andrew said, Taylor, there was a Whiskey Life show that was nonstop chaos. That was
I wonder who hosted that. Couldn't possibly be me, who got kicked off of our own live show.
Why'd you get kicked off their own live?
Yeah,
How'd they kick you off?
So they didn't kick me off. So this is completely my fault.
Watching.
So I started the Whiskey and Books group, and it got bigger than originally not intended, but what I thought it would be, which is wonderful. But when I was planning the live, what I didn't know about StreamYard is that there's 6 people maximum for the unpaid version. And so more people were showing up to the live, more than 6. And so when the 7th person showed up, I was like, oh, so I got booted off when I let the last person in. And then had to upgrade basically to allow us all to talk to each other. But all of my friends just took over my channel for the first like 15 minutes. And it was nonstop chaos because it had like Crystal Matara and Ryan Cahill are good friends of mine. But when you get them together, man, you gotta rein them in. So it's just a bunch of chaos. It was very fun though. So it is 2 hours. So if no one wants to watch that much, oh, Andrew is there as well, so he can attest to it. That's totally fine. But if you want to put it in the background and just hear a bunch of booktubers talk about nonsense, it was fun.
Nice.
Yeah. It started out okay, and then towards like the hour mark, it was just like
It's kind of
I attempted. Our cheeks hurt afterwards, though, from laughing so much. So that's a sign of a good time.
yeah. So, Alex, how has your BookTube journey been so far? What surprised you most about your new channel?
I would say, I would definitely say the community, just like the people. I went in expecting, because I've been watching people's videos for a while, so I knew it was already like pretty welcoming and a lot of kind people. But I think once I started making my own stuff, that's when you really see, because you're seeing everything that is commented or shared or posted or whatever, and it's just like front and center just how supportive the actual BookTube community is, and I think that's just been awesome so far. But I guess another thing would be, I guess for me so far, the other thing would be just trying to find a more, not sustainable, but a schedule that like I don't have to I feel like I come up with an idea and then I want to film, and then just something that's like more regular. But I'm getting to that point. Whereas I first started, I was just like film a video, post a video, film a video, post a video, and then I don't know. It'd be nice to have like just more of a regular schedule as I'm going through the week, especially when you hit like a really busy week, and then all of a sudden you're like, oh, but now I have to film a video or script a video or whatever you're doing to prepare for it. So.
Yeah, I definitely feel that. For me as well, I'll get on a schedule for a while, and then the algorithm will expect that schedule, and then a busy week will come up where I haven't done my due diligence, and I'm like, oh shit, like I don't have time to film this week. So I need to work on that too, the consistency. But I did want to bring up in your video, I recently watched your wrap up, and I think I commented about the Dandelion Dynasty, which you're reading now.
Yeah.
The Wall of Storms. I just wanted to make sure I say, well, we're live together. Like, that series is phenomenal.
It is.
I'm obsessed, and I can't wait for Speaking Bones. Did you finish The Veiled Throne yet?
I did. I finished it like 2 weeks ago, I think, and then just kind of took a little break. But I have Speaking Bones, so I'm going to start reading it probably either tonight or this weekend, and it's bittersweet. Like, I'm really excited to see how he wraps it all up, because it's massive and there's a lot of different moving parts going on. But any ending to a series can always be tough. So, but I absolutely love it. Yeah, it's so good. It's definitely one of the most unique things I've read, just in every single way. I can't name something that's quite like it. I think there's elements that other series may share with it, but on like a full scale, it's crazy. And I do think The Wall of Storms by itself is just an absolutely tremendous book. It's so good.
That's what I was going to say. The whole series is amazing overall, but Wall of Storms, I think you probably know exactly the scene I'm talking about, where I had to get up and walk it off. Like, in that one particular scene, I was like, okay, all right. Like it got so many emotions out of me. So well written. So I not made the mistake, but I bought the Broken Bindings set. And so I got the additional Speaking Bones one when it was available. I also purchased that to add, but I had to send it to the States, shipping issues and stuff. So in my head, I had bought it. And then I realized, oh my God, it's coming out in a couple of days and I don't actually have it. Like, I can't read the copy I bought. So I'm in a state now where I didn't request an arc, so I'm gonna have to buy another copy, an ebook or something, so I can read it immediately.
Yeah.
But
I mean, here's the
dying
thing, especially after
to
the
read it.
third book, because it was supposed to be a trilogy and it was split, that the third book is, I mean, there's an ending, but it's not as cohesive of an ending as I would say the first two books are. So definitely makes you want to read the fourth book. So
Yeah, I've been pushing Steve little by little. Read the Dandelion Dynasty.
It's on the list to just
So-
get it. Just finding the time to get to it is a hard part.
it's good. And it also gets, someone was reading it and I was talking to them about it as they were making their way through Grace of Kings. And they made a comment about like how it wasn't as dark as maybe some of the other stuff that they've been reading. And I was like, just wait, it gets,
Just
there are some
wait.
scenes that get really dark, especially in Wall Storms. And yeah, it kind of just has a little bit of everything in a very unique package. I've loved it every minute.
Mhm.
And Taylor, I know you're a fan of tea, right?
Yes.
Yes.
Drinking it now. Yeah.
Yes. Alan and Alex, are you fans of tea?
I drank a ton of tea when we were in Japan. Like it seemed like every single thing that we went and did as a group, we had a tea ceremony. Every bloody thing. Like I drank so much green tea. It was good. I haven't really drank tea since I come back. I don't drink tea here. Like I live in the South, so it's sweet tea. I don't like sweet tea. I like unsweet tea if I'm going to drink tea, which, you know, everyone in the South is like, you don't like sweet tea? I'm like, no. Like I do a one-man play where I'm just theoretically drinking whiskey for an hour and a half. It's unsweet tea. And there's always someone like, do you really drink that much? I'm like, no, it's unsweet. Like I'd be dead if I was drinking whiskey the whole time. It's unsweet tea. And it's not sweet tea because running around like I do with sweet tea, I would vomit. Like, so I think I like inured myself to unsweet tea from doing that, but I don't ever reach for it. And my wife drinks tea. Like she'll drink tea before she goes to bed. And every now and then I'll have some with her. But again, if I'm thirsty, I'll just drink a Coke Zero or pink water or coffee, which is like, I generally drink coffee. So yeah, but if I'm going to drink tea, I would rather drink like green tea and, you know, not like American tea, not like, you know, because, you know, in the South, you get the small is this freaking big.
Yeah.
Like,
99 cents.
Right.
My family goes to Sunny's and you get like, I just want a sweet tea. And the freaking, the circumference of the cup is this, like, who needs that much tea? Nobody.
I'm with you on the sweet tea thing. It's blasphemous at this point in my life. Like, don't you dare put any sugar near my tea. Like, I'm not having it. I'm with you on that.
Like the Southerners that get all offended when they go anywhere else and they ask for tea and they're like, oh, can I get sweet tea? And then people bring them sugar and they're like, what? Just put sugar in it. Like, what's your problem? Just put sugar in it. You know, like when I go get coffee that doesn't have International Delight French vanilla creamer, they hand me creamer and sugar and I just put it in there.
Yeah.
And I drink it.
I am so upset how much we have in common because that's my favorite creamer too. That exact brand and that exact flavor. So
it's because it's delicious. So
vibes are off the charts right now.
Right.
I've never heard someone be that specific about their favorite creamer and it match.
Right. I have
It's killing me. I
Asperger's.
can't get it here. It's killing me.
What?
Yeah.
That sucks. I have Asperger's, so I do the same thing and eat the same thing and drink the same thing over and over and over. So
At least your taste is decent.
that's right. And I can tell if it's different. So
And Alex, where do you fall on tea? Are you a fan?
I'm a fan. I don't drink it that much. My wife drinks it more than me. But I do find that like I'm a big coffee drinker, so I'll drink coffee for the heavy first half of the day, and then later in the day, it's nice to have tea or something. Just I don't know. I just don't drink it frequently, but I do like it when I have it. And like black tea and green tea and unsweet tea. Yeah, exactly. I can't even tell you the last time I had a sweet tea, especially a Southern sweet tea. Like
where do you
College.
live? Do you live in the South?
No, so I'm in Massachusetts, but in college, we would go on trips down to South Carolina, actually, for like rowing. We would stay like down there for 2 weeks, and every meal that you had there for 2 weeks was sweet tea, and it was like by the jug, and it was just like dehydrate the heck out of you.
Yeah.
But it's good. Oh my God, it'll make you puke. Like he said, especially if you have a lot of it and then try to do anything that involves moving.
Word.
But yeah.
What about you, Steve?
I'm a fan of. I didn't used to enjoy tea, but I started drinking it a couple of years ago. I was starting to get into loose leaf tea, so
Yeah.
became a big fan of that. Like green teas and black teas, and I used to work nights, so I would drink chamomile to help me sleep. So
Oh, yeah.
That
Chamomile
was
good.
pretty handy. Yeah. And Bailey Books and Sport had a question about, did I play any sports in school? I ran track my freshman year in high school, and then I played tennis the last 2 years, and then we got our asses handed to us every week or every match. It was still fun, but it was pretty embarrassing. But my last match was like a back and forth thing it was a single match, and I lost. But still it was one of those ones that were memorable, even though I lost. So yeah, we weren't very good, but it was still fun.
That's something I've actually been thinking about recently is, there's like that trend on Twitter where it's like normalize this, that, and the other. But one thing that pops into my head is normalize not being the best at something and doing it anyway.
Mhm.
Like it's something that's been on my mind a lot recently. Like my husband is he does bouldering. He's a rock climber. And so the type of muscle he has is very different from the type of muscle I have as a weightlifter. So, my body is heavy. So lifting my own body up is hard for me when I'm doing climbing and stuff. So it's something that I put off doing with him because I was afraid I was going to suck at it and it wouldn't be fun. But when we started doing that together, it's like brought a lot of joy into my life. And it just got me thinking outside of just sports, but you're not going to be super good at everything, but it's okay to kind of suck at something and do it anyway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's something that I really have to work on, I think. So Alan's got thoughts though.
No, that's I wish like I my struggle is that the perfect is the enemy of the good. I like part of the reason it was much easier to be consistent when I started this was I didn't care. It's like no one's watching it anyway. Like might as well, whatever. Let's just do this. Now there's just so much pressure to, make sure I say everything that I meant to say in a review video, which is why I got review videos. I got a book I read in freaking May of last year that's on my list to review. That's because that's
Damn.
And so that's what I struggle with. Like I've been wanting to put out last August, I put out a video saying, hey guys, history isn't boring. I'm going to put out Greek history videos. Last August, 0 have been put out since last August. And it's because like, I'm just like, well, it's on the internet. Like how many people are going to be like, you pronounced that incorrectly.
Yeah. Unfortunately, a decent amount, I can tell you.
And so because of that, like I'm so obsessed with it being with whatever I film being perfect.
Steve's crying. You made Steve cry, Alan.
They do. That's how they sound. Anyway, so I'm just obsessed with making it perfect. So I'm just like, what if I just never did it?
Yeah.
And
I know that feeling so well. It's just something that's been rattling around in my brain. I'm not saying I'm good at it.
I agree with you. When I was in college, I was the kid who, rather than turn in a paper that was a C and have the professor think I was an idiot, I turned in nothing, which doesn't make any sense. My kids do this. My students do this. And I tell them they're idiots. I'm like, what are you doing? You'd rather have a 0 than a C?
Yeah.
Are you dumb? And then I'm like, wait a minute. I did that. Was I dumb? Yes, is the answer. I was dumb. So I don't understand it, but like something you don't want people to think you're dumb. I mean, especially if like that is like where you find your identity because you're not good at anything else. Like, someone want to ask me, hey, Alan, did you play sports? Did you play sports in school? The answer is no. Like, I know that y'all are all like wondering that because I clearly had All-American linebacker build like written all over me. No, I was picked last. Even after the kids that get picked last, I was after them. That's when I got picked for friggin' sports. So, but no, my younger brother, he's the athlete, and he's an engineer, freaking STEM. So, like, it's not fair. Like, I have Asperger's and right brain. My brother was an athlete, engineer kid, like brilliant kid, like smart also. Like, why couldn't he be dumb? No.
But Alan, you're BookTube famous, so that's what counts.
Yeah.
I mean, sure. Like, I'm sure my brother sits at home and laments that he does not have a BookTube channel where he can talk about books. The last time my brother read a book was in high school. So 2003 is the last time he read a book. That wasn't for work, obviously. Anyway, I love my brother, but it's not fair. So.
Stacy says, I need motivation to start The Darkness That Comes Before. What?
Read that.
What is one reason so much to definitely read it? Non-spoilers, please. So we're starting a group read of the series of the 2 trilogies this month, and Stacy's going to join us, but looks like she needs some motivation. So have any of you read that series?
I'm theoretically supposed to read it with Philip, but but it's just like, Philip, I'm reading other stuff, and now I want to be like, Philip, no. But the problem is it's not going to matter because I'm interchangeable. So if I say no, Philip will have 12 people lined up behind me. So originally it was supposed to be me and Philip, but I think like more people have like attached onto it now. But I mean, I'm so behind. I have other stuff to read besides huge ponderous tomes that are philosophical in nature, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. They're just long and take too long to read. I am not a fast reader. So books like that and like Malazan, which I love, it's just like, I'm not going to read this quickly. It's going to take bloody forever. So maybe, ? Philip hasn't told me when we're starting, unless he's reading with you, Steve, in which case you're starting now and I didn't know. But
No.
I own the first book and Jimmy's read it and says I would like it, but we'll see. Maybe next month, maybe August.
Oh, we're discussing next month, so.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that, and so I had high hopes. I was like, yeah, I got this. We'll see. We'll see what reality ends up being. This, being SPFBO judge and stuff. I'm so happy to do it, but that's taken priority. Yeah.
You're a SPFBO judge?
I am with Before We Go blog. Yes.
Nice.
So it's been a joy. I'm really enjoying the experience, but it's had to take priority over other buddy reads I promised. So sorry, Steve. I'm failing miserably.
This is me judging you.
I read the first chapter.
That's a very nice judgment. I'll take that.
I read the first chapter of all of Bookborn's SPFBO, all 30 of hers. And I was like, well, I mean, I haven't published a book, so good for every single person in this thing. Good for all of them. Like, I definitely am not trying to cast aspersions on anybody. But I read them, and I mean, obviously I didn't like all of them. But fantasy books, there's a lot of similarities between fantasy books, which, you may not realize until you read 30 chapter ones almost back to back, in which case you're like, wow, there's a lot of similarities in fantasy books.
You're just getting in the room.
And then some of them I know I'm not going to like just from the readings, like, oh, so-and-so is a bad boy who goes around and is with a different woman every night. And guess what? He's a vampire and she's a werewolf. Will their forbidden love ever be accepted? But no, I mean, I don't care. Like, I'm not going to read it. Done. Sorry.
It's good to know that, though. So it's one of those things where it's interesting having to be objective, because if you get a book, there was a couple like trading like within the team of like, hey, I'm not sure this one's going to match me. Does this match someone else's reading taste? Because you don't want to, be biased from the very beginning, I guess, if it's 100%. Something you don't think you're going to like.
Yeah. You don't want to give me a dark fantasy romance.
Yeah, it's important to know, like who, like what your tastes are. And also what's interesting to me is I recently this is not a secret because it's been posted now, but I had my first cut. And writing that review was really interesting because it's just as you said, Alan, you respect the people who, one, write a book, and two, are willing to put it out there
100%.
in such a public platform.
Absolutely.
You know, because when you're cut in this, you're cut publicly.
Yeah.
So it's not like a private little message about your arc. So it was a really interesting review to write because you want to be honest with what bothered you about the book, but you want to make sure that you're not making them feel like crap. And, you know, I'm not a mean reviewer in general. So, you know, it's not like I'm going against my nature or anything, but the wording, I thought about the wording in that review more than I would just putting something on Goodreads. So it's been a really good exercise as a reviewer, you know, to check your biases and make sure you're saying everything as objectively as possible.
Yeah. I hate being mean in my reviews. Like I would really love to talk to Brian McClellan because he clearly likes Flintlock Fantasy, you know, and he's a successful author. And you know what? What do I know? Maybe I'm wrong. He's the one who makes millions of dollars off of his book. Maybe I'm incorrect. But I can't lie and be like, oh, I love these, but I don't like them at all. I want them to be better. And it makes me mad that they're not better. But, you know, I'll never be able to talk to him now because I've said that. I feel bad, but I don't come out and be like, this idiot doesn't know how to freaking, like, are you kidding? Dude's written 2 successful trilogies and has a freaking TV deal for his series.
Yeah.
Like, you know, what do I know? I have 8,000 people who watch my channel. That's it. So, you know, so what do I know? So, yeah. And with self-published stuff, especially, I don't want to trash someone's freaking book. So, you know, it's
carries a lot of weight.
It does, especially for self.
Yeah, if I trash Brian McClellan, he's fine. Dude's got his career lined up. Just like if you give Mistborn 1 star, Brandon Sanderson, he's gonna be okay. Like, you have not just sent him into poverty, right? He's not gonna have the Disney Tiny Tim, where he's cutting like that thin paper slice of ham that he can. That's all he's going to get to eat today because Alan Walker gave Final Empire 1 star and ruined his career. He's fine. Yeah. But these self-published rely. I was talking with Thiago Abdallah, who published
Thiago?
Touch of Light just recently, and he was saying that, you know, it just word of mouth carries a lot of weight for the self-published thing. So
100%. Like I recently did a rant review for the second book in Crescent City by Sarah J. Maas, and I went in because Miss Sarah's gonna be fine. You know, she doesn't care about my what I have to say. But the way that I handle like self-pub books is way different. You know, and I think
you've ruined SJM's career, Taylor.
Yeah, you know, the weight that I pull, she's done for.
You've ruined it. Like, you just destroyed the Japanese market for freaking House of Earth and Sky.
You mix the two.
Whatever. House of
Earth and Sky.
House of Thorns and Fury.
Trademarked.
There you go.
There was one self-pub author that there was a well-known booktuber who had a lukewarm review, and he noticed that the sale of his book took a pretty good hit from just a lukewarm review.
Yeah.
So
really, like a self-published author?
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. Alex, where do you land on that about negative reviews? How do you feel about them? How do you handle it?
Well, I mean, I don't think I've been super negative on anything yet. I didn't like Red Rising, I think, as much as a lot of people do. But I would definitely agree. I think like obviously for bigger authors like Pierce Brown or Brandon Sanderson or something like that, it's be honest, but and it's not going to affect their day-to-day life whatsoever. But when it's someone who is trying to like build their career, or this is their debut novel, or this is just something that they put years and like maybe decades into this book and are putting it out there, I don't know. I just think you have to be very careful about about how you're saying it. I think it's important to be honest, is for sure, but I think it's just how you do it. And I don't know. I haven't had that like circumstance yet where I've kind of had to make a decision about whether I should review something at all, or just if I didn't really like it, maybe just move on to the next book, or just not talk about it. And so, but I don't know. I just think it's it's just a very unique circumstance that will impact them way more than a lot of people would think.
Yeah.
Because I could tell, like, especially before Booktube, I mean, I would definitely go on Goodreads and look up a book if I was in a store. And if I'd never heard of it, I would first go to Goodreads and I would just look up what's the general consensus. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, it's under 4 stars, I'm not going to buy it. But I'll look up, like, what is the most read reviews on it. And, you know, that definitely impacts decisions for a lot of people. So I think, you know, a 1-star review on a book that has 100 reviews or 100 people who have read it on Goodreads can really impact that author's book and, you know, really hurt their career in the long run. So yeah.
The interesting thing here is the balance between that. So I'm a firm believer that reviewers are for readers. They are.
Yeah.
They're not for the author. So, you know, that you going on Goodreads and reading what people think about that book, that's what that's for, right?
Yeah,
whether it's
exactly.
going to be for you or not. So I'm a firm believer there's a way to write a negative review that may make someone else realize they'll like it.
Yeah.
Right. So I have a couple different booktubers where if they hated a book, I'm like, oh, that's going to be for me. That's going to be my book. So I think being honest, while from maybe an author's perspective, it looks like, oh, they gave me 2 stars. This is horrible. If it's a well-written review, it could bring other people to the book.
Yeah.
You know,
I would say,
it's all about how you write it. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Go ahead. Yeah.
I was just say, even the reverse. I think if you really love something, and I think it's important to point out things that maybe you liked, but you know other people might not like, whether it's just anything about the story. And I just think that's important. And obviously the other way around, if you really didn't like something, but you're pointing out things why you didn't like it, like constructively, and the reader's like, well, I love those things in books, so I'll go out and buy it. And I don't know, that's happened to me many times. So I definitely think that's the way to do it.
I just recently reviewed Daughter of Redwinter by Ed McDonald, and
it's
getting kind of like, it's the general consensus is there's a sag in the middle, and there is. But when I reviewed it, I tried to talk about why it feels like there's a sag and why I think it'll bother other people more than it bothered me. So, you know, like people who agree with me that there's a sag in the middle, they'll give it 2 stars, but I gave the book like 4.5 because the ending made up for what's in the middle. It's sagged, yes. There's a lot of like exposition, a lot of like the academic character being like, and this is why things are like that. Some people hate info dumps. Some people despise them. They despise them. I don't care. Like, thank you for clarifying something so I'm not in the dark. Like, it doesn't bother me. So, you know, I'll be like, hey, like there are info dumps, but that doesn't bother me. But if you are someone who does not like that, you know, here this is. And so when I do self-published stuff, and I don't read a lot of self-published just because I haven't read enough of the books that I want to read. Like I just have, I'm just trying to get through series that I want to read. But I do read them every now and then. But when I do, I try to say what didn't work for me. Like, cause you want to be honest, like you're saying, like it's your opinion's not, it's not useful if you're not being honest. Like if you're not telling people your actual opinion, like you can be nice and still be honest. So I'm just like, this didn't work for me. Like, I don't particularly enjoy this thing, or the way this happened was not, you know, the way that I liked it. But I do always try to make sure to focus on the things that I did like, because Rare is a book where I can't find anything that I don't like very rare. Even when I read freaking Court of Thorns and Roses, which is an awful book, like I was able to be like, look, this thing reads fast. Like, she's not a bad author. She's just doesn't know how to plot anything. Like, but her writing isn't bad, other than her disastrous overuse of gemstones as descriptors. And anyway, all they do in that book, if you've read it, they sit in the kitchen, they sit in the dining room, and they talk about how dangerous everything is. They don't ever do anything. That's all they do.
Yeah, that book's not good. The second book in the series I genuinely enjoyed, but the first book is terrible. The third book also is not my.
Okay.
No.
Yeah, the first book, I'm just like, why don't y'all do something instead of sitting around at the dinner table talking? Like, what's this book about? Nothing. Answer. And there's a riddle that no one solved for thousands of years, and I solved it while reading it. And the Fairy Queen's like, no one can ever solve. What?
You have to have a special snowflake main character, okay?
To
Who
solve
figures it
the
out
riddle.
when no one
That's
else
funny.
can.
It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my entire life. Like writing, anyone who writes riddles into books, like it's hard because if you're ever
Tolkien.
writing like any kind of mystery or writing mystery where something's supposed to be difficult to figure out is just difficult in general. And not as having published anything, but just having played D&D or run many D&D campaigns, like trying to find crap that people don't know is hard. And this is another thing that bothers me about Powder Mage is like, Brian McClellan, make your books action based. Stop putting mysteries because you are not good at writing mysteries. And I'm sorry to tell you that, man. Like you're not. Like it's not your cup of tea. Clearly you have an affinity for the genre, like you like it. You are not doing it right. Like you please. Like just have people shoot each other. It's so much more engaging because every time there's a mystery in that, I'm like, this is literally the Sherlock Holmes of your world. And he doesn't know that. What are you doing in this book?
For the love of God, never read the second book in Crescent City because you will your brain will explode because those issues are everywhere. Like Miss Sarah wanted to do a plot-based book rather than, what her wheelhouse is. And
which is fantasy romance.
Yeah. She just shouldn't. Maybe she just shouldn't. That's just my opinion. Some other people really liked it.
Absolutely.
But for me, I'm like, just put more smut scenes in. And let's do that.
That's one of the reasons that I like KJ Parker so much is because he writes brilliant characters almost better than almost any other author that I've read. It's hard to write a really intelligent character because you have to show me that they're smart and not just tell me that, I'm the smartest person. Why is a smart person doing this? This is what a dumb person. If my teenager would do this, if one of my students would do what you're doing, that is not a brilliant person. That is what like a normal person would do. Show me that they're brilliant. And Parker does that like a lot, which is why I like it. And there's several authors that do write really, really smart characters really well. And then there's some that write smart characters very poorly. And it makes me sad.
And Isaiah, sweet tea not just some type of tea with sugar? Yeah, it's like half sugar, half tea.
A lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's a whole other breed.
Yeah, it's different. It's like, I don't know.
Oh, hi.
Hey, Red Bar Kyle. Hello, I'm always at work when these things happen, but I wanted to stop by and say hello to this fine group of people, plus Alan. Also, Alan, 1,000 names is good so far.
Kyle's opinion on 1,000 names is going to determine whether or not we devolve to total war or we extend the 30 years piece, because Kyle has poor opinions on most things. Freaking Kyle.
And Derry's never had coffee.
She's not Australian. What? She's New Zealand.
How do you function?
I mean, as a tea person in the morning, I get it, but there's nothing like a hot cup of coffee if the mood strikes. It's just.
Oh, yeah. I have to have coffee.
Right.
Same.
But it's not like. It's not a personality trait. I just like coffee a lot. Like I don't.
Yeah, I agree.
I can't.
It doesn't define you.
I don't understand people for whom liking coffee is a personality trait. It's like, stop it. You just like to drink coffee. It's fine.
Yes, Chris, we need a montage of just Steve backing away from his microphone, trying not to be too loud, laughing at his guests,
Yeah, you guys are entertaining. Beth had a comment. As I've gotten older, I've realized that life is much better if I enjoy everything I do, no matter how bad I am at it. Being laughably bad can still bring joy. I agree with that.
My students have taken a little of that edge off, because they are in many ways unafraid to be embarrassed at some things. And some things like that I think are just like, why would you be embarrassed about that? It's dumb to be embarrassed. But then there's stuff that I'm like, that would embarrass me, that they just have no shame at all. So that's taken a little of the edge. Like I'll do stuff in my classroom that I would never do anywhere else, as far as like being, stuff that would embarrass me, or stuff that I'm don't excel at. They'll be like when we're having like a JCL social or whatever, and they'll pull up Just Dance. They'll be like, Miss Walker, come do this dance with us. I'm like, I do not do those things. But then, they to the left, to the left, to the left. I'm like, all right, I'm gonna Cupid shuffle, I suppose.
I have not heard that song
Go to a high school prom.
in at least 10 years or more than that.
I actually, this past prom, they told me, they're like, Miss Walker, you coming? I'm like, y'all want me to come? They're like, yeah, come to prom. And so I went to prom, and they told, like, Miss Walker, you should bring Foursquare. Like, bring like you know what Foursquare is? This game you played in like them.
Oh yeah.
There's like 4 squares, and then there's like a tetherball or a kickball that you got to bounce, and you one bounce. It's like tennis with your hands in 4 squares. So I brought masking tape and the little ball I got at Walmart, and in the corner of the ballroom at prom, made a freaking Foursquare thing. The DJ was like, "Are y'all really playing Foursquare at prom?" And we're like, "Yes." And the line was it was much longer than the people waiting to like get jiggy with it. So DJ, people liked my Foursquare thing. It was awesome. So much fun. And I would never have done that without my students. Like I would have been like way too like, please don't look at me. But
yeah. Definitely agree with that.
Eric had a comment. Don't be afraid to be bad at something. It was a quote from Jenny Wirtz when she came by the channel. Jenny Wirtz is next level inspiring.
Yeah, she is.
And Planet had a question for Jolien, but Jolien had some technical difficulties, so I don't think she'll be able to make it, unfortunately. The Japanese Star Wars is called Legends of the Galactic Heroes. I'm going to butcher that name. It's from the 80s and is a book and anime. Have you heard of it? I think I'm about to start the 3rd book. Are any of you familiar with that one?
No, I haven't even. I mean, I can't believe I'm admitting to this on camera, but I haven't even seen this Star Wars. So
What?
Yeah. So I'm sorry the timing when you're drinking, but yeah, just to throw that gauntlet down. I think I just missed. It's one of those things where you miss the train on something.
Yeah.
And then it's like just too late to be part of the original hype for it. So I'm just one day maybe, but it's not a priority for me at this point. So.
If it wasn't for the prequel trilogy that everyone hates, I probably wouldn't have gotten into it because like that's what I grew up with is that trilogy. So then I went back and watched the old ones, but I don't watch any of the Disney stuff. We like other than the movies that they put out, I haven't watched any of the shows or anything like that. Just keep hearing bad things too. So.
How did you like the original or the first trilogy when you went back to watch those? Did you like them more or less?
Like the original one, it's like 4, 5, and 6. I really liked them, and I also had an unpopular opinion in that my brother and I just loved Return of the Jedi, which apparently everyone hated at the time. But as a kid, I was just like, "This movie's awesome," and everyone was like, "Oh, that's such a step down." But then the prequels came out, and they were like, "Well, it's not as bad as those." And they're like, "Okay." And then I remember watching the prequels, and I was like, "I don't think this is that bad." But I was so young when like Phantom Menace came out in '99 or something. And so much of it just went over my head because a lot of it was just slow political stuff. And I was too young to really grasp anything other than Darth Maul. So,
yeah. This is a cool character, though.
Oh, yeah.
Alan,
Jerry had a question for you. Does your brother have fans all over the world?
Who cares? Like, my brother didn't care. He doesn't care. Guess what? He has a house. So he has a house and a job that he, that if he tells people something, they'll respect what he says because the world values what he does for a living. So I'll trade him. Well, I mean, I really like everybody, but it's just like the great irony of being a teacher is that anything that involves like how the world works and advice that I should give them, other than like a couple like acolytes who good for them will listen to me. They won't listen to what I'm saying, even if it's true. And the reason they won't listen is because I'm a teacher. Because if I knew so much, if you're so smart, Walker, why are you a teacher? Huh? That's right. If you knew how the world works, how would you end up being a teacher? But if I was an engineer like my brother, or if I was like, an actor or a brain surgeon that made, $1 million a year or whatever, they would absolutely listen to me, even if I was saying the exact same thing, because, oh, that person's successful. Oh, they know. And that's the great irony. I'm the one that's supposed to be teaching them. and they won't listen to me because I'm the teacher. So stupid.
I'm a teacher over here too, and I'm not in public schools. I'm in like a private school, but still, the teachers are respected here more. Not as much as they should be, but when I compare to the States, I'm like, y'all really, the disrespect you show teachers in the States is,
Oh yeah.
because I've had friends say, when you move to the States, are you going to keep teaching? And I was like, no, I'm not touching that with a 10-foot pole in the States, because I really respect you for still doing it, and sticking through. It's for the kids, I'm sure.
I mean, it is, but the problem is that every Teacher Appreciation Day, the pillars of the community tell us like, oh, we know you guys don't do it for the money. I want you to stop with that toxic positivity. Yes, we freaking do. Yes, we do. Because if you didn't pay me, I wouldn't do it. So yes, I do it for the money. I also do it for the children, which is how you hold me hostage. But that's what I was going to say.
The reason you're still there, right? Yeah.
I mean, my wife and I reevaluate every year. I have such a good group of kids this year that we thought this was my last year in the classroom, but I cannot abandon, like, they know where I live. They would hunt me down and like drag me through the streets if I told them like, guys, I'm not coming back next year. But part of it is like, where am I going to go? Like you guys would be surprised that categorical encyclopedic knowledge of ancient Greece and Rome is not actually a valued skill in the United States of America. Like, it's not like I have job opportunities.
Wow.
But like, they're not people. My monster resume is not constantly getting hits being like, oh, can you please teach us about the freaking Macedonian phalanx? No, not one, not freaking one. So it's like, where am I going to go? Because I have to have a job. But at the same time, I certainly don't have to have this job. I can go work for my buddy who runs the movie theater and make like half as much of what I make, but have twice as much time in my life where we're talking about having a day where you can relax and not feel bad about it. If I am not doing something for school, like I should be writing slides about freaking Augustus for next year. If I'm not doing that, I feel bad because I should be, because otherwise I'm behind. And it's just, and it's fine. I don't have to do that because I would get paid the same as the teachers that I work with who literally show Netflix for an entire semester. That is what they do.
Wow.
And they've been there longer than I have. So they actually make more money than I do. So I understand why so many teachers are bad. It's because it's a really good job to be bad at. If you're a bad teacher, it's an awesome job. The amount of money you get paid and the amount of time you get off and the amount of time in your classroom that you can literally just piddle around and do what you want to do without being bothered is really good if you do not care about being a good teacher. But it's the teachers that care that's an awful job for, because, like I'm busting my hump for what? Like for what? Like, even if my bosses know that I do a good job, there's nothing they can do. They are not in charge of my salary. So, it's just like, it's an attaboy or whatever. Yeah. And parents are just, most of the kids, like, they're obsessed with their GPAs. I'm fighting with two of my really good kids right now who are threatening to not take my advanced class next year because it's a 4.5 weighted class instead of a 5.0 weighted class. And they're so bleeding concerned about their stupid GPA that I'm like, are y'all freaking serious? You're not going to take a Walker class because of it? You'd rather take something you don't like because of your stupid GPA, where I guarantee you nobody cares. You guys, you're both in the top 10. What does it matter? Like, who cares?
Yeah.
And so
it's something, I have a bunch of teacher friends in the States, and a lot of them are quitting because they're just, especially with how teachers were treated during the pandemic.
Oh yeah.
They're like, I am out of here. So a lot of them have quit.
And I'm like, teaching.
Yeah. And I'm like, I'm not entering into that. So major respect.
It's ridiculous. And the parents, like, I teach. So I am fortunate in that I teach college bound kids mostly. Like I don't teach like the lowest quartile. It's mostly like, most of them are wealthy. It's either really wealthy kids or like dirt poor, brilliant kids. That's, I mean, there's not really an in-between on the beach where my school is. But some of these parents are, because I try to teach these freaking kids to have some bloody integrity and to take pride in what they do, and that character matters. And then I have their parents teaching them the exact opposite, where last year, the worst year ever, this woman tried to get me fired because her daughter had a C in my class. Her daughter had a C in my class because her daughter was never there, because she was always gone for soccer, which is fine. That's you want to play soccer, that's fine. You need to do what you need to do to stay caught up. And she's like, my daughter's a student athlete. She's an excellent student. She has never had below an A. I'm like, I'm going to stop you right there. Let me tell you why she's never had below an A. Because she cheats in every other class. That's why she's never had below an A. That's the answer for every kid that where the parents are like, oh, they've got a D. They've never had below an A. They cheat. I have students be like, Walker's too hard to cheat in your class. I'm like, I know it is.
That's a good thing.
And the thing is, but to make my class cheat proof, it's all that much more work. I have to do that much more work to make sure they can't cheat. And this woman went to my freaking boss and then went over my boss's head because I would not give this girl oh, you graded her test wrong because you don't like her. I'm like, okay, you're right. I don't like her. I didn't say that, but I graded the test based on her knowledge of Latin. She doesn't know Latin. That's why she doesn't have an A. And so I finally let the kid retake because I had to. Kid ended up with a B. That's when the woman went over my head to my boss's boss because the child had a B. Over a B. I
feel bad for that girl. Like if a B is not good enough, imagine what she gets at home.
100%. I feel bad too. But it's just like you are trying to ruin someone's life. Because your child did not do what your child needs to do. Get mad at her. Don't get mad at me. Anyway, I can talk about it.
We have a name for that in Japan. There's two names. There's a monster parent, and then there's kyoiku mama. Kyoiku mama is a mom who is living vicariously through her kids.
Kyoiku mama.
Oh, yeah.
Kyoiku mama, yeah. They're living vicariously through their kids. So basically means like education mom. So someone who's obsessed with how their kid performs. And dealing with some of them at the school that I'm at, I'm like, y'all really, you've lost touch with reality. Let's just leave it at that.
And there's nothing wrong with wanting, I tell the kid, you want an A? That's fine. You should work like you want an A instead of doing nothing and then being like, well, why don't I have an A? Because you are lazy. That is the answer to that. That is the answer to that question. You've done nothing. You think that you can coast and you can cheat. And those things have not availed you, have they? No. I have never let a kid drown. Sorry. I have never let a kid drown that has given a crap. It's the ones that don't care and think they're going to play chicken with me. That, if I just continue, eventually Walker's going to ease up. No, I'm not. You know what? We're in this hellhole together. So, whatever. Anyway, I don't recommend anybody become a teacher.
Yeah. I love doing it and I don't either. So.
Do you teach English?
Yeah.
Nice.
Derry had a question for Alex and Taylor. What are you buddy reading at the moment, and why isn't it with Steve?
What am I buddy reading? I have a bunch of buddy reads I'm supposed to be doing and I'm not. So Maria from T-Books Magic, if you're still here, I'm so sorry. We were supposed to have buddy read, what was it? A Magic Steeped in Poison. We were going to read it when it was a new release. My fault. We have not even touched it yet. So there's that. Buddy read, though, that I'm actually actively doing. Not currently. They've all been put off, I think. What about you, Alex?
I guess not a technical buddy read, but I would say me and RJ have been reading through Dandelion Dynasty. And then we've also been reading The Remembrance of Earth's Past trilogy, which is Three Body Problem and so on. So we've been reading that, and then just a lot of planning ahead. So after coming off of Dandelion, we both really love it, but at the same time we're well, I would love to read some standalones just to break off because they're huge books. And so, I mean, it's really easy to sign up for a ton of buddy reads. So like that's quickly filling up my back half of 2022. Whether I get to all of them or not is another question, but
yeah, it's tough. And that's one of the reasons I don't accept ARCs. Back to Rogue's comment about trashing Dr. Philip Chase's book when it comes out. One of the reasons I don't accept ARCs is because I'm agreeing to have a review, and if I don't enjoy the book, then I have to review it, and I have to be honest, and I don't want to be in that awkward position. So
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And Shelf-Centered Bryce had a comment, negative reviews, it depends on your channel's focus. If you're the reader, then it's important to be honest about your thoughts.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Definitely agree.
Yeah.
I had to read it as a punishment for a challenge I lost, and I didn't like it. I had like a 2.5 hour, 2-part.
I feel
Did you
like
read
I
more?
watched that. I think I
Well,
did.
Did you read just the first one?
Yes.
Yeah,
Like
that's enough.
it's they like Sarah J. Maas uses the word baldric way more times than anyone should ever use the word baldric. It's like, why do you keep saying that? That's really specific. Like, just say bandolier or something where he keeps his knife. Stop saying baldric. So weird. Hey,
She does have some growth in the second book, but then it's all
Does she
shot to
paint
hell in the
better
third
in the
book.
second book? Is she better at painting?
Actually, I think Mass conveniently forgets that she was a painter for the rest of the series. So.
Really? Because in the first book, all she does is sit at that dinner table and then paint.
I don't remember it coming up, but I only read it once, so I don't remember that though coming up.
Well, I mean, she knows how to write a brisk tale. Just none of it makes any sense if you tug at any of the strings.
That is a fair criticism.
No.
I think if anyone says that that's not true, they haven't read the books.
She knows her craft. She's not like,
Yeah.
there's not glaring grammatical structural errors. It's just like, but SJM, you just said this. Oh, well, ignore that. Just move on. Like, pretend I didn't say that.
Yeah.
T-Books Magic had a comment. I always try to point out why a book didn't work for me, but might work for others. It's clear that a book shouldn't be read by anyone. So, Alex, do you buy books on negative reviews? And if you do, then what about the negative review will convince you to try the book?
Well, off the top of my head, I can definitely bring this back to. So last night I finished Assassin's Quest, which is the third book in Farseer. And going into that book, a lot of people, it's like probably the most divisive, I'd say, in that first trilogy. That is like either you really hate it or you really love it. And there were a number of people that reviewed it really negatively that I was like, okay, well, I'm gonna like it. And I did. And it's like there have been a number of books like that for sure, where I can kind of gauge their taste after either watching their reviews for a while or reading their reviews or something. And then I kind of be like, well, okay, well, if they're really negative on a book and they say it for like the reasons that they usually are negative on similar types of stories, then I can be like, okay, well, I'm still going to give it a shot because I might end up really enjoying it.
What about you, Taylor and Ellen? What type of negative reviews will convince you to try a book when you wouldn't before that?
If someone says like super character-based plotware, I'll probably pick that up because I do like plot, but I'm a very character-based reader. So, like First Law, I finally started the first book and I was warned ahead of time, like, don't look for a plot because there is none to be found. But that doesn't deter me from a book like that. So
I also think there is a plot. It's just not it's not the main focus. The characters are definitely the main focus. But
yeah. So for me, if someone says that, I'm in. Also, I guess it's not really a negative thing, but if people mention anything about like meddling gods, whether it's in a positive review or a negative review, I'm picking that up. I adore that like narrative device or plot or trope or whatever you want to call it.
Mhm.
I adore that. So
You should
that's
read the
another one
Iliad.
that'll-
There's a lot of meddling gods in the Iliad.
You know, I think at one point I did, but I definitely spark noted it. I read pieces, I spark noted others.
I can't believe that. And I get it. Like one book is like, and first came the Boeotian units, led by so-and-so. And here's a list of all of the people.
You
I
could
get
not have paid me to care in 9th grade English, you know, for that book. So at that point.
My first year teaching, I taught English. I only had 2 Latin classes. So my first year teaching, I taught English. And I would quit before I'd ever teach English again. Because I lose my mind. Like I never give homework. But like when I do, I expect it to be done because I never give it. And so when I got 6 out of 20 kids who turned in their homework, or sorry, 6 out of 30 kids who turned in their homework, like the kids know, like that's when I'm going to lose my, Walker's going to start hollering because unacceptable. These kids don't ever read the books. So I get mad at that. If I was an English teacher and I'm trying to talk to kids about this book and they haven't read it, because I know they haven't read it. I know they haven't read it. None of them read it. They don't read anything. They're always talking about like, oh yeah, I'm just going to watch the movie. And I stop them because I'm working. I look, I'm like, guys, have y'all considered just reading the book they're asking you to read? Oh yeah, but it's so long. So what if instead of going home and binge watching the Vampire Diaries for the 13th time, what if instead, and follow me here, I know this is a new concept. What if instead you just tried to read the book? What if you did that instead? Like,
Yeah, you would have hated me in 9th grade.
I would have hated me in 9th grade. Like I am the child I didn't want to teach, noisy and annoying and won't follow directions. I wouldn't like me in high school either. But you know, like, and the thing is, it's not that I dislike those kids. They're kids that I like. I just want them to read the book. Just read something. Just read anything. They don't know any words. They don't. These are kids going to college. They don't know any words. None of them. I'm like, I'll say a word like, what does that mean? I'm like, what do you mean? What does that mean? Like, that's a common word. It's like, no, I've never heard it. Why don't y'all know any words? Why? Why don't y'all know any words? They don't know anything. They don't know anything. They don't know anything. Like the first lesson in my class, I'm like, Est Graecia in Europa? And I'm like, what does that mean? They're like, is Greece in Europe? I say, okay, stop. Raise your hand if you can answer that question. Is Greece in Europe? 25% of them can raise their hand and confidently tell me that Greece is in Europe. 25%. They don't know. They don't know. They thought Greece was in Italy. I'm like, you thought the country was in a different country?
Ooh.
They don't know anything. It makes me so sad.
That's pretty bad. I gotta admit, that's pretty.
Every year it gets worse.
God.
Every year. Sorry, I can't stop talking about education. I need to quit. I need a new job, y'all.
I'm barely holding myself back. So
I'm so sorry. Books. Negative book. I don't read stuff based on negative reviews. I have too much to read. I guess if people are like, this is a military fantasy, there's too much military tactical engagement in this, I'll be like, so why did you give it 1 star? Like,
why'd you pick it up?
yeah, you read that book wrong. Like, give that to me. I'll rate it for you. But usually I watch enough Booktube, or I used to before I got really behind. I feel so bad. Like I'm so behind on watching Booktube. I watch enough Booktube and that I pretty much know what like books are going to be about. And then, you have your closed circle where whose opinion diverges from yours and who likes stuff that you like. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So on Goodreads, I don't trust Goodreads at all because Goodreads hates anything that's good and likes anything that's popular. So,
Grace of Kings.
Seriously, like
Grace of Kings is really low.
Yeah, there's not a KJ Walker book above 4. Not one.
Yeah.
Isaiah had an interesting comment. I'm sorry, Taylor. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to make a last comment before I have to go, but about being behind on Booktube, watching Booktube, talking about balancing things, between reading a book so I can make content, making the content, and then watching other people's content between everything else. Like, I just want to make an apology on a public platform. I'm so sorry to like all my friends where I usually comment on your new stuff. do not be surprised if like a week from now you just get comments on every single video I haven't watched yet, because I'm gonna have to just have a binging day. I am so behind on everyone's content, so just want to make that public statement. But I actually have to leave for work now, so this was delightful.
It was,
And,
and we should talk
was.
Fukuoka sometime.
Yes, 100%. I'll send you a message.
Nice.
But I'll probably be here most weeks, with Steve. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I'm gonna head out. Great way to start my day. So have a great
Thanks,
rest
Taylor.
of your day, everyone.
Bye,
Night,
Taylor.
everything.
See
Talk
ya.
later.
Have a good
Bye.
one. Isaiah had a comment about a lot of spoiler-free reviews, even from well-meaning people, can end up being unhelpful or harsh, seeming due to the lack of specifics, making the criticism about it almost seems directed to authors.
Yep.
Which is really tough because I try to do everything non-spoiler, and
It's way
not as
harder.
easy as it sounds. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see.
It's like one of the first things I noticed making reviews is that non-spoiler reviews are significantly harder than I would have thought going into them.
Yeah. And people think different things are about are like when you watch someone enough, you know what they consider a spoiler and what they don't. Like
Yeah.
if it's on the back of the book, or it would be in the trailer for the movie, I don't consider it a spoiler. Like talking about the premise of the book, like something that happens in chapter 3, like let's say the inciting incident after chapter 3, I don't consider that a spoiler. That's what the book's about. Like I can't talk about the book unless I tell you, like we have to talk about what the book's about, guys. Like we have to. So I'm sorry I spoiled chapter 1 and 2 for you. Like if that ruined your experience, I'm sorry. But the thing is, people who watch me know that. You know what I mean? And if people who are like really, really like anti, I don't even want to know what the book's name is. Like, don't even tell me the title.
Don't watch a video.
Yeah, don't watch my video. You know what I mean? Like, oh, you spoiled it with the title of your video because you put the title of the book in there. It's like, well, you better hide me or something. So you get to know that kind of thing. There are some people who say it's not spoiler, and then they're just going to go ahead and they're going to spoil everything. I was listening to a non-spoiler discussion about the Cosmere. A non-spoiler discussion about the Cosmere went ahead and spoiled a huge thing about Mistborn 3, about Hero of Ages.
Oh my God.
And I'm like, if I had not finished Hero of Ages, but I would be pissed that I am hearing this. Like that is like, I realize you think it's not a spoiler, but it is. Like but like if you're a Cosmere person, like in the chat, I'm not talking about like you specifically, but people who are huge Cosmere fans are really loose-lipped about spoilers for the Cosmere. Like they're just, I don't know. They think that everyone's read all of Brandon Sanderson's works, and that is not accurate.
I think another thing is, I was gonna say like sequels, deciding how to handle a sequel or like a third book in a series.
Yeah.
What is no spoiler for a second or third book in a series? Does that mean no spoiler for book 1? Or so I don't know. Because I've faced that a couple of times so far, that it's just like, what is considered a spoiler for like a book 2? Because technically, just where a character is in book 2 could be a spoiler for book 1. So
absolutely. When I do third books, like it's like I'm spoiling it up to this book. Like anything has happened, like don't watch this if you haven't read book 1 and 2. You know what I mean?
Yep. That's what I mean. That's kind of the direction I was thinking about going, because like I wouldn't even watch a review if it was a book that, if I was like hadn't started the series, I wouldn't watch a review for book 4 or something like that. Like
I wouldn't either. That's weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's weird. And JR had a comment. I didn't know there was a 5.0. I didn't know that there was a 5.0 either.
There wasn't when I was in school, but the problem is like this race for graduation, for class rank and valedictorian, and this great delusion that everyone has been sold by the university system, that you have to have a certain GPA to get into a good college, which is not true. Like anyone who wants to go to college can go to college. There's a college somewhere that's going to take them. And guess what? There's parity across education. Like, let me tell you how many times in my life I've had a bunch of jobs. Not one person has ever asked me where I went to bloody school. Not one. No one cared what my class rank was. They cared, do I have a degree? That's what they cared. Do you have a bachelor's degree? Is it from not an online, like, degree printing university? You know what I mean? Like one of the ones that isn't a real college. But like, yes, that's what they care about. But they don't listen to me. So this 5.0 weighted crap, we don't get to decide that. Florida does not have an honors level for the first 2 levels of a language. It is not in the course code. So the Carolinas have honors Latin 1, honors Latin 2. We cannot offer it in Florida because Florida doesn't recognize it as a course code. So I don't have a choice. So my class is a freaking 4.0 class, which means if you get a B, it's going to tank your precious 5.0 GPA. And so that's why they get all bent out of shape, because they think that my class should be easier considering it's 4.0. I'm like, it's not my fault. I didn't make it 4.0. I'd make it honors if I could. And so they just care way too much about, I don't know, their freaking GPA. Like they think it is either 5.0 GPA or dead, addicted to drugs in a ditch, like homeless with no job. There is no in between. They are completely correlated. And it's not just them, it's their parents. And, you know, I tell them otherwise, and they go tell their parents, and their parents get mad at me. Like, why are you telling my child this? I'm like, because it's true. And the thing is, you know it too. Like, why are you telling them that? Like, I have a friend that works in admissions who's worked in admissions for a decade. And it's like, yeah, like first thing we do is we throw out the crap classes. Like person that got an A in basket weaving, we throw that out. And then we reweigh their classes based on, you know, the actual difficulty of the class. No one listens to me. So
it's like that reminds me of the AP classes I took that just literally taught the test. And so for the entire year, you would just be taught the exam. And
yep.
I mean, God, if you didn't take the AP exam, I don't know what you would do all year.
Absolutely. It's that way now. It's that way now. It's ridiculous.
John had a comment. If Alan did a version of Hardcore History with Dan Carlin, I'd sign up. But if you don't get excited about history with Alan, you might be dead.
That's really good.
I don't know what that is. I don't know what Hardcore History is. What is that? Is that a
I mean, it's a podcast. I've listened to it as a podcast. I don't know if it's like a YouTube thing as well, but it's pretty good. He like kind of goes over all the major history time periods, like World War I, World War II, and then
that's very cool.
Some of the other stuff too. Yeah, it's pretty comprehensive.
Yes, freaking Munchausen's.
Yeah. And Alex, there's some people who already wanted to buddy read with you.
Oh yeah, I know Theo and I wanted to start Sun Eater. It's like a series I've pushed off for so long at this point.
I'm being bullied into reading Sun Eater.
It's just like it's been so hyped to the point where I'm just like scared to read it, because I'm just like, well, if I really don't like it, I mean, I don't know.
Sun Eater and Dandelion Dynasty are the two, and freaking Greenbone. Everyone's trying to get me to read.
I haven't read that either.
They're too long. I'm trying to be I've declared this year the year of the short novel, because fantasy books are too long. They're too freaking long, and I have too many books that I'm trying to get through. So I'm trying to, go for quantity. They're on my list. They're just the shorter ones. So I'm really trying not to read anything over 500 pages. Every now and then I end up doing that, but when your first book is over 700 and your later ones are 1,000, I can't. I can't. It's too long. Yeah. They're too long.
Speaking of books that are too long, Joseph is reading Malazan with us, and Malazan is all the buddy reading I can do. Yeah, they're tough. Yeah.
I have read the first 6 books, I think 4 times. I've read the first 6 a lot. I started reading Malazan the first time was when I was studying Japan. I was on book 2 when I was over in Japan, Deadhouse Gates. And I never finished the series till last year. I had read I read 1, 2, and 3, and then I read 1 through 5, and then I read 1 through 6 or something. I don't know. I read them. I kept starting over, and then finally I finished the bloody things.
Yeah.
Nikki had a comment. I found Mass's characters too illogical. Their actions didn't line up with their thoughts. I'm not sure if it was just a me problem. I'm not sure if that was just a me problem, though. It sounds like
it's not
just you.
I'm not sure.
Neither do I. I'm not sure.
It's not you.
I can't help with that one.
People don't read them for the characters. They read them for the sexy times.
Yeah. The smutty times.
Yeah.
There's audiobooks now if you have trouble reading the book. Yeah, it's audiobooks are pretty handy for that, to just get some reading in now and then. Carl had a question. Do you think that is a worry for books in the future that young generations rarely read?
have a whole video with Bookborn on this exact thing on kids don't read. They don't value reading. Why would they? Like we in this country do not promote anything in the humanities. We don't.
Yeah.
If it's not STEM, and I'm sorry, reading for pleasure is not in STEM. What they will read when they are being crushed by the fact that they have been reduced to a number, which is how much money they earn, and they have all of their anxiety and self-loathing because what they have been told makes them successful and fulfilled does not actually make them successful and fulfilled. They will then pick up the most recent self-help book that has hit, that has sold millions of copies. They will read that. But there is no value in reading for pleasure, according to current educational theory or cultural theory of education. Because it's not STEM. It's not STEM. If it's not science, tech, engineering, or math, no one cares. It's very frustrating.
I can't even name, honestly, I have a handful of friends and I can't name one of them that really is a reader, which is like one of the main reasons why I found Booktube when I started, because I've always been a reader. So it's just
same.
Yeah.
I have a couple students who read and then show me what they're reading. And sometimes I'm like, dang, nice. Sometimes I'm like, why are you reading that? Like,
don't waste your time.
Why are you reading The Love Hypothesis? Like, read something that isn't that. But then they read other stuff. It's good. So
yeah.
She was only Evie said read Six of Crows first, Alan.
I know, Evie. That's a punishment book that I lost the challenge and haven't read yet. I just haven't had time, but I got to read it too. I don't want to, but
just finished Howling Dark. Very much enjoy the first two books.
Yeah, I've heard Howling Dark's really good.
I haven't read that one either. There's so many books to read. It's hard to keep up.
There.
Alan, read Greenbone, and I'll personally break it up into short segments for you, 20 novellas.
No, see, my problem with Greenbone is I read Jade City, October of 2020. So I read Jade City, a year and a half ago, and it's fine. Like I liked it. And then Jade Legacy came out, and I can't listen to one more thing about Jade Legacy. Like I can't. If you listen. It is impossible for Jade Legacy to be as good as people have hyped it up to be. If you listen to the hype, Jade Legacy is going to eliminate the genetic code for cancer. If you read Jade Legacy, you will never suffer another illness. You will gain omniscience. You will not have to sleep. You will be able to run 25 miles without becoming winded. And you will, work at a job that makes $1 million every year, because we need to ship Jade Legacy over to frickin' Ukraine and all the fighting will stop, because that is its power, according to there's no way, like it can't be that good. It can't be it. And so I'm a contrarian and I'm a hipster and I hate it. Like I hate myself that I'm a hipster. So I'm just like, I don't want to read it because people won't shut up about it. I was going to read Grace of Kings, and then all of a sudden everyone I know is now reading Dandelion, and now I'm like, I don't want to read that now either. Thank goodness they're long, so I can pretend it's because they're long.
What about you, Alex? Have you read that one?
I have not. That's another one of the many really popular series I just haven't gotten to yet.
I've heard some good and bad on that one.
Yeah.
Jody had a comment. Sam, I know two people who read in real life and they don't read fantasy.
Yeah, same.
Yeah,
the only person
exactly.
I know that reads doesn't read fantasy.
Yep.
I know romance gets a lot of grief, but someone's reading it because they saw a lot of books.
They're definitely
They do. Oh yeah.
They're definitely, because that is why literally Sexy Times has to be in literally everything that is ever released now, because that is what. That's what matters, apparently. Like, I would love to watch a new TV show where every 3 seconds people aren't naked and doing it. Like, how is this relevant to the plot? Oh, I'm sorry, this is the plot? Oh, okay. I put on the wrong show. Let me put on something where this probably doesn't have anything to do with the plot. Oh, wait, there's 8 scenes of this too. Why does it make a difference? Why does it make a difference? Like I don't care. What if we went back to the actual plot of the TV show I'm watching?
Taylor says, as soon as I leave, I hear Greenbone and Six of Crows slander.
Oh,
Unacceptable.
sorry, Taylor.
Yeah. Honestly, Jade War is my favorite, so I'll be fine with you stopping there.
I have to. I will read it. Like I told
Yeah.
Charmaine that I would try to finish it this year. My friend Charmaine, but I don't know if I'm going to make it. Jade likes these 1,000 pages. It's too long.
It's 1,000 pages, really?
No, I think it's probably 700. I'm
Okay.
looking now.
That's a lot, though. When I was when I went to StokerCon, there was an author there that said he makes most of his money just writing romance books as a ghostwriter, and he has a formula that he a cookie cutter formula that he just transfers over to each book and has certain benchmarks that have to be hit in certain chapters or a third act or
It's like
a
James
third act
Patterson.
breakup. Yeah, he just
Yeah.
like pumps out romance books, and that's how he makes most of his money, just
Wow.
ghostwriting for romance authors. So someone's buying this. Someone's buying the books.
Yeah.
But
And you know what? People are reading, so I shouldn't be like
Yeah.
you know, but it makes me mad that the things I like aren't popular. Like it because then I have to, go dumpster diving behind all the freaking popular restaurants and find what people are throwing out that I can like because, no one likes anything that I like. It makes me so sad. Like, where are all the flintlocks hidden in the bargain bins? Makes me sad.
have you read Gunmetal Gods?
I haven't. I own Gunmetal.
I haven't. Yeah, I own it as well.
Really good.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if it's Flintlock though, but there's guns in it.
It does have tech in it. Yeah, I saw it.
Matthias says, read Gene Wolfe.
Yeah. I want to read Book of the New Sun.
I have to read the first one next month because it was my patron wheel spin thing. So fortunately it's short because it's dense. If it was like 600 pages and as dense as it was, I would
be the only thing you read that month.
I know. Would have cried.
You mentioned your Patreon. How is that to manage? Is that a lot of time for you to manage a Patreon?
I mean, no, it should be more. Like, I feel bad. I constantly feel bad for my patrons. Here's the thing. Like, my life is not such as it is where I'm going to make, like, if I make a video, I don't want only a few. I don't want to put my stuff behind a paywall is what it comes to. So like if I make a video, I want everybody to see my video, you know what I mean? Like if I took the time to do all that, like it's because I had something to say. So my Patreon, I have a channel on my Discord, which is really the prime benefit is that like that's the channel I'm most active in is the patron channel. And they get to submit stuff every couple months. I spin the wheel every 2 months. I spin the wheel because I can't do it every month because I just don't read enough. Like, people like Jimmy who, can read all the freaking time. They can read a patron book a month. I can't.
Yeah.
So I post a lot of like life updates. So I talk about my life a lot more in the Patreon. And every now and then I do I haven't done anything recently, which is why I feel really bad, just because I've been so unable to just function really, or certainly not do anything extra. So the thing is, most patrons are there because they support you, and that's why they're there. They're because they support my wife and I, and so they don't ask for a ton. But mine is not one that has like, hey, you're going to get two videos, patron only videos a week or whatever, and I can't give them early access because I finish my videos at 1 a.m. the day before they go live because I'm not good at time management. So I don't have it done early. So you can't, I mean,
like a week ahead of time.
Yeah. You want to look at it a couple hours early? I mean, I guess if you want to. So no, I mean, I know a lot of people, I know some people do different stuff, but really it's just, I don't know, like your patrons are like, it's one level in, it's one more like inner level of like community. Like the people I know the best really are, not all, but many are, my patrons and have been for a long time. And so I try to tell them that I appreciate them all the time. And I also have a spreadsheet of all my patrons of like their birthdays and stuff. And I always send them, my wife is sometimes like, you realize like the birthday gift you're sending them is more than what they have donated the entire time they've been a patron, right? I'm like, I don't care. Like, my Patreon allows me to be more generous than I would be able to be without it. And so, I'm able to buy people books, and it funds Jeopardy sometimes, because anytime anybody's on my Jeopardy thing, everybody gets something, and then whoever wins gets something better. And so, so the answer is no. It's not a ton of work for me, but it should be more, and I'm trying to get better at that. I just have to find a life balance, and I'm just bad at it. I just suck at finding a balance for anything.
How are you finding that balance, Alex? Are you finding it easy to manage?
Yeah, I think it's getting better. I think at first it was just like, because I was just starting out, that was just like most of what I could think about at the time. Just trying to get stuff out, and what video am I gonna do? When am I gonna film it? And but as I was saying earlier, I think just getting more on a routine schedule at least allows me, when I'm not doing it, not feeling bad about not doing it. Yeah. Same with like anything else. So it's just that way I can read and not be like, why am I reading? Maybe I should be like filming a video or something like that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I was on a schedule of 3 a week, and then I just, like, school just hit me like a truck, and I posted like once in like January. And then now I've gotten to where I've at least been able to put out one video a week, but I'm just like, how was I doing? The part of the problem is I hate editing. That's part of it, is I hate editing. I hate it. Yeah. And I don't like because I can't do anything else, because I can't listen to anything, because then I can't hear my bloody thing. I don't use what is the Adobe thing? Premiere?
Premiere. Yeah.
I don't use Premiere, so I can't speed up. I watch all YouTube videos at 2 times because I can understand them. And if anybody wants me to watch a video, it's going to get watched at 2 times, because I don't have enough time. I don't have enough time to watch all the videos in 2 times, let alone everybody at normal speed. So I can't edit in 2 times, and it drives me crazy. So however long my video is, and I am not a short talker, obviously. So every freaking video I film is at least 30 minutes long. So it's going to take me at least 30 minutes, because I can't speed through the timeline, in addition to all the other stuff I have to do. So it just takes a long time. And so the thought of filming overwhelms me, because I know when I'm done, I'm going to have to edit, and I don't want to edit. I want to read or watch TV or play a video game or do anything but edit. And so I just don't do it. And that is where I am now, and that makes me sad.
It is definitely one of those things that takes significantly longer than you would think before, like, making a channel or something.
Yeah,
like,
it's
right away. Notice that.
I mean, when I first started learning how to edit, my very first video took me like over 8 hours to edit, like 20 something minutes of footage.
Just like learning how to.
Seriously, I'd never done anything before.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. What do you used to edit, Alex?
Right now, I'm just using iMovie. I want to get Premiere, but not yet. Not yet. I mean, I like downloaded the trial, and I was like learning about it, but then I don't know. I was like, well, I have to go back and edit a video. So I just went back to iMovie, and then I was just like, all right, I'm just going to use this for now. And then I'm kind of like in that. So I'll change it for sure. It's just haven't done it yet.
Yeah. Alan, I think we have the time in the evening where it's time to preach the good work of the Book of Babel.
The Books of Babel are good. Sinless of Sins. I love the Books of Babel. They're not for everybody. They're weird, but they're beautifully written. I like them. The last book was a controversy, and it irritates me, because I've heard a lot of people be like, oh, well, so-and-so didn't like the last book, so I guess I'm not going to read that series now. I'm like, stop. Like, I don't like book 5 of the Shadow Campaigns, and that series is freaking awesome. I just don't like the last book. You can not like the way something ended, and it doesn't ruin the whole series. You just didn't like the ending. That's why Kyle and I are mortal enemies, because Kyle gave the book 3 5 stars, and then book 4 1 star, which is that's irresponsible. Like that's irresponsible. It's not. You cannot like what happened in the book, but the book didn't go from 5 stars to 1 star. Josiah Bancroft still wrote the book. The prose is still gorgeous. It's just, I don't know. Like, me and Kyle and Patrick are at war over that. How dare they? Like, you don't like it? Fine. You're 3 stars. That's fine. Even 2 stars. 1 star, it's not a 1-star book. They're objectively incorrect. I use Filmora. And I use Filmora 9 because I despise Filmora 10. And Filmora does not let me edit fast. And I hate it. Though it is easy to use. But
Check it out.
Like you, Alex, I have things to do. I don't have time to learn Premiere.
Have you read the books of Babel, Alex?
I have not. I want to read them. There's so much I want to read, and like the other thing is a lot of the series I want to read are long. So like I want to read Malazan, and I want to read what's the other one? I mean, any of them. Sun Eater's long. Like Grace Dandelion's really long. Like any of these series are. I don't know. I need to read Stormlight. That's another one, especially for next year. And I'm just like, I don't know what I'm guessing. Try to aim for like the end of this year into 2023 and try to read them up to that Stormlight 5 book, but I haven't read them yet. So,
I mean, we're going to have to disagree on this one, T-Books Magic. Just because I don't like how Shadow Campaigns ends, like, at all. I think the ending I think it missed the landing pad with the ending, in my opinion. But it does not change how awesome freaking book 1 is. Like, book 1 is so good. It just, I don't know. I understand what you're saying. Like, Mass Effect 3, the ending of Mass Effect 3 definitely decreased my enjoyment of the series as a whole because they whiffed that. And any of y'all in here in the chat who played Mass Effect, all 3 of them, like, whiff. But I guess it just depends on how, I don't know. I guess it just depends on how, I don't know. I guess it just depends. But I know the 1,000 Names does not ruin what came before, or the Shadow Campaigns ending doesn't ruin what came before. Same thing with Babel, but I liked the Babel ending. So, who knows?
What do you think, Alex? Does a bad ending ruin the whole series for you?
I don't think so. I think it would have to be really. I think it totally depends on the situation. Like, there's been endings I didn't like, or like books that are later in a series that I just didn't like that won't ruin the overall series for me. Like, there's a number of series like that. I'm trying to think.
I can definitely see what ending could ruin it, but
yeah, absolutely. I think it just depends. I feel like it just depends on what it is and what happens in the end. Because like some people, like I was just saying, like Assassin's Quest, some people say that ruined like all of Farseer for them, which then ruins Realm of the Elderlings. And I'm like, even if you didn't like that book, like Royal Assassin's such a good book. So I mean, it would never like ruin that whole trilogy for me or anything like that.
Yeah. I guess it probably just does depend on what it is. Like, if the whole thing was a dream, like, I mean, that ruined it.
Yep.
Or if they completely just, I don't know, like undermine all the work that was done prior. But in the example I'm using, the Shadow Campaigns, like, it doesn't undermine what was done prior. It just didn't do the events of that book well, which I didn't like. And Babel, I think Kyle and Patrick would have more of a case with that one, but I still disagree. And they just didn't like it. They didn't like its structure. And I'm just like, y'all, that doesn't make it a 1-star book, people.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like now the Dub 64 has mentioned Lost, but that made me think of, I mean, just the Game of Thrones show. Like that ending was probably one of the most biggest letdowns for a lot of people, but it doesn't ruin the fact, for me at least, that like the first couple of seasons of that show are just incredibly good.
Yeah, I think a lot of people.
It doesn't like ruin the show for me. Yeah, for sure. And they like won't go read the books or anything like that, which I'm just like, they're so different though. They're like not just totally different.
Yeah,
was just
I hear
bringing that up.
Lightbringer has a bad ending also.
Yeah.
Yeah, Game of Thrones is tough. Halfway through season 6, and was it last season was what, 7 or 8? 7.
8 was the last one.
8.
Eight.
Oh.
Yeah.
The second half of 7 and 8 are pretty bad, but the
For
rest of
sure.
them are really pretty good.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I even think it must the finale of 6. Like, I think you already could see semblances of that show going downhill by then, but I thought the opening of the finale of season 6 is just really good. It's like the one with, I don't know, don't want to spoil anything.
Yeah, it's tough. You never know who hasn't seen it yet.
Yeah.
It's a tough one. But I want to thank you guys for coming by and everyone in the chat for coming by to hang out and just shoot the breeze. So it's been a lot of fun. Thanks for the laughs and for all the good conversation.
Thanks for having us.
Course, thanks for having me.
Thanks you guys for coming by, and of course thanks to Taylor. And too bad that Jolien wasn't able to make it, but she had some technical difficulties. But we hope to catch her next week. So hope everyone has a great weekend, and we will talk to everyone soon.
Cool. Sounds good.